This businessman need his percentage. Smoking asparagus spinach. I can make drugs, I'm a chemist. I'm in her mouth like a hygienist. She playing with my balls like it's tennis. Woo. At the bat, showing out, cutting up. Hella liquor in my cup. Hammer on, tough, 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 tough. Tear the monster up when it's time to get tough, 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 tough. I'm not a captain, so I won't cuff, 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 cuff. Getting at the bucks is a must, 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 must. Ball on a sucker, ball on a sucker. Always been a hustle, never been a bust. I do a lot of much, I never do a lot of less. I like to squeeze a trigger like I squeeze a bitch breast. I'm thicker than a snicker, baby girl, hella blessed. Met her last summer, coming out of food for less. Everything I do is butter candy, ice cream. Make a hater cry like a Jordan meme. Suckers wanna kill me, shoot me in my spleen. Cause I'm out of tycoon and living the dream. Bitch, I'm a king and they can't do nothing about it. Cause I'm a boss, used to buy my yacht off and I was dribbling, cooking coke in the kitchen, whipping the script and the residue off the pot. What you finna do? Finna try to buy a car line. I'ma find out, 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 I'ma find out that you switching, I'ma find out that you snitching, I'ma find out you the law, I'ma find out you ran off, I'ma find out that you soft, I'ma find out. All in my pockets ain't hurt, pushing that work on the first, every day somebody murk, getting hauled off in the hearse, RIP on niggas shirt, buried 6 feet in the dirt, gotta stay posted and ready, at any time shit can get heavy, they'll turn your brains into spaghetti, I'm about Skrilla and Fetty, Ferragamo and Giuseppe, riding around in my Chevy, me and Chapsui my protege, why should I say my man the AK, follow me home and get DOA, I promise you won't see your birthday, try to run up while we courting me, you gon' get dealt with accordingly, I spend some bread like a shopping spree, you gon' need lifetime security, racing the gutter the sewages, came up under real nigga tutelage, get paper, stay away from the foolishness, since I came out of the universe, I'ma find out, 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 I'ma find out that you switching, I'ma find out that you snitching, I'ma find out you the law, I'ma find out you ran off, I'ma find out that you soft, I'ma find out, find out, I'ma find out, I'ma find out, I'ma find out, I'ma find out.
One more minute. I think I have to do it this way because it wasn't letting me do it the other day. It wasn't letting me play my shit the other day. So I think I have to do it this way. Because yeah, I think I have to do it.
They're scaring you because when you walk in the room, they see God.
Well, I decided to go there for about a week ago. I felt it was a purpose. It was a special purpose. More so a means for me to be natural. And I think appearance means a lot. We're born with our hair like this, and we just wear it like this because it's natural. Because the reason for it, you might say, is like a new awareness among Black people that their own natural appearance, physical appearance, is beautiful.
the Revolutionary Agenda, slash PEC, People's Education Committee. Um, this is a PEC production. I'm your host and fellow revolutionary, Seduction Doll, aka Lady Che Undoli Wukuyinga. um, my Zulu name. Anyway, yeah, it's been a minute since I had a chance, so I'm catching up. Do want to give a couple of updates first. This week on June 2nd, Shabakas Black Experience, which I co-host once in a while with regular contributor to Shabakas Black Experience Enhanced, is hosting a marathon. So if you've received a message from any of the podcasts of the Shabakas Black Experience, Shabakas said Corey has sent you one to add your podcast onto ours for the day, that would be great. If he sent you one, if I or Che Nkrumah, Jesse Paris sent you one from either the Frontline Blacc News or the Revolutionary Agenda, please, we've invited you to come on, add your podcasts, bring your friends, let's make it happen. There are a few little tiny caveats as we are raising money for Shabakas Black Experience Enhanced and Jesse Paris's campaign, as he's running for Denver mayor in 2023 on the Black grassroots under a Black agenda. Um, so those are small, tiny little caveats. Reach out, either via messenger and for me, find me, a Seduction Doll, and message me, get at me, and gladly put you in the lineup. It's going to be a marathon, so it's going to be a couple blog talks, a lot of Facebook, a lot of YouTube podcasts. So join us, and let's work together. It is a Black collaborative. It is a Black production. So as usual, I just had to get that out of the way. Okay, People's Education Committee. Yeah, a shout out to Brother Yanga and Kruma. Um, I study under him, and yeah, study under him, and I just want to shout him out. He's been pretty active lately doing other podcasts. So I thought I would get on here and we're gonna do another video exploration with the doll. As you know, I'm newly in my um, exploration of being a revolutionary, and I went under uh, Mr. Nkrumah because he seemed like the smartest, wisest person who was about teaching that I had seen. I follow a lot of things, and some things that come from other brothers and sisters that are Panthers, not necessarily something I want to follow, let alone want to reteach. So I follow him, and I follow a couple other things like the Panther 48. They're tight. Um, so yeah, I'm just the student, and I've basically been teaching myself since he's been doing other things. He's been busy, really busy. So I'll get with him when I get with him. He sees these pop up, so hopefully I don't disappoint. We're gonna do another video exploration. I have two actually, but this one is a little longer, and it's called "The Origins of the Black Panther." And as I start watching a video clip, you're watching it with me for the first time. So you're going to see the interactions, you're going to see the reactions, you're going to see the questions. And all of this is for us to understand um, what part of the generation we're in now, where we came from, how we got here, about important developments, which stage of the developments, ideology, Maoism, certain things that, when you talk about. And I'm also going to want to explore different leaders that I feel are a genuine benefit for us to know about, even if family we're at a time of war. So there's a lot of things that we should talk about, but I really leave it to the big dogs to talk about it, so that to guide us appropriately. Because new radical minds might not be good with old radical minds. You might need to contribute and like build on it. Because it's getting these young minds are activated, family. So we just keep our head on a swivel, like everybody says, and be prepared to defend and protect our own ourselves. Defend our own ourselves. You know, um, our elders are most vulnerable. Think about that. Anyway, let's get into it. I know it seems like I'm all over the place, but it's just because technically on my revolutionary vacation. Sometimes you just gotta take a revolutionary vacation. Like I feel this overly whelmed, just stressed out. So I felt like I should probably take a revolutionary vacation. Still really working out. Still kind of busy, but at least I'm doing something I want to do right now, and that is to bring you P.E.C, People's Education Committee. There's an email on there if you want to get on this. Email Brother Yanga. He's in charge of all that. Um, I just got lucky, and nobody can tell me I can't do it yet. So even if they did, I don't think I'd listen. So our young minds, need the right tools if you're gonna live the way you're living now, and you continue to live the way you're living. You need the right tools. You need the right ideologies, the right principles, the right mindset. Even if you're like me, I'm old. It started off as a gang member, and then built on something else, turned into something else. Because you can't always be a gang member. It doesn't mean you always can't. You can't always be a panther either. You can't actually. Just do the work for the people. Do the work of the people. Be the people. I am the people. I do the work of the people. Yeah, proudly. And will probably continue to do so now that I know that it's a real thing, and I take it very seriously now. When if you had asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have given a fuck. I had to be re-educated and repurposed for the work of the people. And now I'm all in. And loyalty is everything. So I'm loyal to that. I'm loyal to the people. I'm loyal to the justice of the people, the will of the people, and the good of the people. And what's right for the people. Meaning, what's right for me. I am the people. I'm the people. You're the people. We're the people. Do for the people. You dig? So let's get into it. Throw this copyright up. All right, like I said, family, don't let the shade deflect the message. We are exploring this video together, first time. It's called Origin of the Black Panther. Breakfast Program, Police Brutality, 10-point program. Apparently it came out in May 26, 2022. And a little backstory. Let me read it to you. Whoa. Okay, that's a lot of reading. Well, we're just going to go ahead and share it so you can see it. It's a lot of reading, and I'm not in the funny mood. So I usually like to read things and make them amusing, but I will not be doing that right now. Hold on one second. All right. It says, it's obviously from a book. Okay. It's going to basically give us a little bit of this story. It's going to talk about a little bit of civil rights. It's going to talk about Huey, Bobby. It's going to talk about the dissatisfied with the failure of the organizations. And it's going to talk about protecting the community against racist cops. Shout out to Bark. So, yeah, I didn't want to read it. I didn't. I swear I didn't. So, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's see. We might have a commercial.
With some of the founders of the Black Panther Party, The Black Panthers were formed 40 years ago in Oakland, California, and several of the group's leaders gathered at the University of New Mexico to discuss the origins of the party. This is just under 2 hours.
It's like a bad rock concert. How about a round of applause for you for being so patient? My name is Finney Coleman. I'm the Director of African American Studies here at the University of New Mexico, and it is a tremendous pleasure this morning to be able to participate in this panel and to introduce our speakers today, former members of the Black Panther Party. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize, actually, there are a lot of people to be recognized. Our staff in African American Studies, our student workers, Dr. Kirsten Buick, Charles Becknell, Letha Allen, all of the people in our shop that helped put this together. But I want to give a special thanks and recognition to Maria Williams. Please stand up, Maria. And Manny Rettinger. Manny's in the back with the hat. And is Al Green, is he here? Al, I thought I saw Al a bit ago. He's out front. The reason that I wanted to recognize the last three people especially is because without their vision, without their recognizing an opportunity, none of the things that we've been able to do for the last couple of days and will continue through the weekend would have been possible. Maria, Manny, and Al brought David Hilliard in to see us in African American Studies some months ago. And after some discussion and planning and hard work, we were able to put together what you're going to enjoy this weekend. So thank you again to everyone that helped work so hard to put this together. The format of today's presentation is I'll give a very brief introduction as I'm doing. And as you have questions for our guest, please line up at the microphones in the aisles. I'll ask that you come with a very clear and concise question, and that we don't have long prefaces to the questions, okay? Because we want to get, not to be rude, but just because we want to get to as many questions as possible. And if you forget that, I have no problem. I'm a former Army guy. I will cut you off, okay? With that said, please join me in welcoming David Hilliard, Elaine Brown, Frederica Newton, and Erica Huggins to our campus. As you know, these individuals pioneered perhaps the most important social, cultural, civil rights organization in our country's history. Certainly one of the most remembered from a time when our country didn't recognize, as it should have, the rights of individuals in our country, the services that should be provided to communities. And these were very young folk when they put all of these things together. We tend to remember the 10-point program, but this organization was responsible for more than 65 community-based programs that we now take as common sense. We think people should have ambulance service. We think kids should have shoes. We think that kids should go to school and have a good breakfast and not be hungry in the classroom. These were things that were common sense, but America simply didn't address. These folk did. They're here this morning to tell us about the origins of the Black Panther Party and their individual stories. With that said, David, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. What a wonderful turnout. And this is so much what we were about historically. We were founded not on a street corner, but on a college campus. And so we've always felt very much at home among people on college campuses, and where the free flow of ideas can be discussed. Education is a tool for manifestation of democracy, and so we're always eager to share our ideas, especially with students. Our organization was started not unlike the conditions that we're faced with today. There was a war in Vietnam. This is 1965, where the anti-draft movement in Oakland, California, and all across the country. And 1965 was also the beginning of the it was the Watts rebellions. 1965 was also the assassination of Malcolm X. Our organization also grew out of the desegregation movements in the South, and certainly it has its connection with the civil rights movements of SCLC and Stokely Carmichael, Rap Brown, John Lewis, Bob Moses, all of the Student for Nonviolent Coordinating Committee individuals. So we recognize our history as a continuum of the organizations before us. It's important to set the tenor of our movement because it's so misunderstood. What is really remembered is the militancy without any other characteristics. We're frozen in the sensationalist imagery of leather jackets and guns. We don't deny that. Our organization was founded on three particular principles. In its nascent beginning stages, we were called the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. We were considered and saw ourselves as a revolutionary action movement in the early stages of our party. It was propelled on the scene because of the armed delegations at the Capitol in Sacramento, where 27 members of our party went there to protest gun laws. Gun laws that were being enacted because Huey Newton, our founder, Bobby Seale, our co-founder, took a delegation to Sacramento to protest disarmament of our Black community. We took those guns and we had the patrols in our communities early on to protest and to hold in check the police abuses. It's important also to remind you, because this is something that's totally missing from the history of our Black Panther Party, that Huey Newton was a law student in 1965, San Francisco Law School. And Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, during those patrols, had a law book in one hand and the guns in the other. The government has amputated that particular arm. So our armed self-defense was certainly about and against police brutality and murder in our communities, but it was also armed self-defense that underwrote the planks in our program. Our point number 6 calls for universal health care. And remind you that from the very inception of our organization, we had this 10-point program. It was also about education for African Americans and decent education in our communities. It was about housing. It was about giving free medical care to our seniors and senior transportation programs. So that has been totally written out of the history. Only thing that remains is the militancy. To set the record straight, we were not a Black Power organization, not in that traditional sense, not in the sense that we were separatists, or that we were in any way aligned and in any way practicing racist ideology. We were quite the opposite. From the inception, our movement was in coalition with the Peace and Freedom Party. We ran Eldridge Cleaver for president, as a matter of fact, on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket. We ran Huey Newton for senator while he was imprisoned in 1967. We ran Bobby Seale for assembly. Early on in 67, we ran Kathleen Cleaver for the assembly. So we were always involved in trying to use the system as a way to manifest our demands. We didn't like the way the system operated because it was discriminatory, it was very violent, and it certainly, there were no equality of opportunity for African Americans. So what did we do? We moved to change that system very radically. Our slogan became revolution, survive a pending transformation of society, and survive a pending revolution. We understood that revolution was not an act, a single act, that it was a long process. So we immediately embarked on trying to implement those survival programs. So I wanted to just give you somewhat of a backdrop on how our organization has been misrepresented because of the very negative imagery, but I also wanted to call attention to you about what you know so much about, and that's the armed self-defense posture of our party. To go a bit further and to put it in context as to why we're here, certainly we're here because this is Black History Month, but more importantly, we're here to celebrate the 40th anniversary of our movement. We've started in 1966. We're also here again, and I'll restate it very clearly, because this is where we had our origin on college campuses. You have a Native American Studies program on this campus. You have on this campus a department for Hispanics, Mexican Americans, if you will. It only makes sense that we're inclusive in that, because in 1967, we were working with Raíz Tijerina in Los Angeles. We were the only organization that was involved with Mexican Americans, or Browns, if you will. In 1967, we were in Delano working with Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta during the grape strikes. So, and I mentioned to you that we were already involved with progressive whites. So we should be here on this campus. You should understand the history and the dynamic movement that was the Black Panther Party. And I don't like to talk about our party strictly in a historical sense, because if you research and you look at that 10-point program that calls for universal health care, an end to police brutality in our community, decent housing, senior programs, education in every city in America, there's these failing educational systems. We have one of the finest schools in America with our Black Panther Party. There is nothing historical and outmoded about that agenda. So ours was an unfinished agenda. We're here to try to help introduce our particular style of work to students who are seeking new movements. We challenge you to draw on our Black Panther Party, because there are important lessons to be learned from our movement. And we'd like to do that by having a curriculum here at this university. And having said that, because we want to keep this short, because it's so important that we have dialogue with you, because above all, we believe in the struggle of ideas. I'm going to cut it short, and Elaine Brown's going to talk a bit about the emergence of our Black Panther Party in Los Angeles. That was the first of our chapters. And then we'll open up for questions and answers. But I wanted to just give you some context as to how we were so misrepresented and why we existed in the first place. Thank you very much.
Crazy, huh?
I'm a little bit out of
Crazy, huh, family? So like, it's a lot of information in 14 minutes.
Out of order here, we're going to go to Erica Huggins, then Elaine Brown, and then Frederica Newton. Okay.
I see you second little eyeball. I see you.
Can you hear me well? I was on a college campus. David is right. I was at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. I was 18 years old, and I read a magazine article. And the reading was predictable, about a young African-American man who was accused of killing a police officer. The picture, however, was appalling. The picture was of this young man strapped to a hospital gurney with a bullet wound in his stomach, with a seemingly huge, to me at that time,
Heavy.
European American police officer in full uniform laughing into the camera. I studied the picture for quite some time. I didn't even have tears for it. I was so appalled. I read further and found out that this man belonged to an organization called the Black Panther Party at that time, for self-defense. I put the magazine article down and I looked out into the student union building once again, where students were frolicking, it seemed to me. They were playing bid whist pool and absorbed in cruising for boyfriends and girlfriends. And I searched the room for John Huggins. Couldn't find him. Wrote him a note the next day. I am going to California if I have to walk. I am going to find Huey Newton and work in his defense. Are you coming? He said yes. And so we drove in his hoopty Plymouth Valiant across the country with my cat and a friend who thought that he was going to be found as a blues singer in Hollywood. We drove across the country and ended up, after dropping our friend off, in Los Angeles, in West Los Angeles, in a funky little apartment. And we took factory jobs while locating the Black Panther Party, which was easy to do because in almost every neighborhood, party members were selling the Black Panther Party newspaper, which was, you would call it underground, but it really wasn't. It was very above ground. You could find it everywhere. And it was news from all over the globe. David is right. We weren't just nationalists. We weren't just cultural. We were about global change, and this is what scared the government into minimizing our principles and calling us racists. We were about redistribution of the wealth, of the resources. All people, like that baby over there, deserve the best just because they're born. And there shouldn't be any people who have less because of their pink job, because of their size, their age, their class, their country of origin, the language they speak, their sexual orientation. And what I found when I read that little newspaper, was only about 8 or 10 pages long, is that that's what the Black Panther Party was talking about, the end to oppression. I was inspired. And I joined right away, and I did anything from answering phones in Los Angeles, in South Central Los Angeles, which many people are afraid to go to. I still can't figure out why, because people live there and love one another there and birth their children there and have lived there and will live there. So we moved into South Central later, John and I. We were friends and then we were married.
I like how she just keeps it like very plain, like very simple, matter of fact, like this is what happened, this is how it went down, this is what I chose to do. I don't understand why people were looking at this situation like blah blah blah. I like how she keeps it like that. Straight to the point.
And we did everything. So newspapers, answered telephones, wrote letters to politicians, talked to people who were willing to donate resources of all kinds to us. And we lived a very simple life. When I got there were about 20 members of the party in Los Angeles. It was one of the first strong chapters of the Black Panther Party in the United States. I believe that I turned 19 during the time that I was doing all of these things. John Huggins was 23, or 22, sorry, 22. And we knew also that the local law enforcement and national law enforcement in the form of the Federal Bureau of Investigation tailed us and surveilled us at every turn. We knew that though what we were doing was unpleasant, that it was beneficial. And actually, many times we didn't think that we would wake up alive the next day. I still have such gratitude that I am alive, that they are alive. So the party also talked to people. That's mostly what our offices did. People came and went, and they would talk to us about, why don't we have food? How come the police are cracking our heads for no good reason? You know, my son's in jail. He didn't do nothing. Why is he there? They thought we had answers. And sometimes we did, but what we were doing is learning what the needs of the communities were. We were learning. We were in a steep learning curve, as a matter of fact. And the programs, the survival programs that David mentioned, came out of that steep learning curve. They did not come out of a book with ism on the end of it. They came from the people's hearts. We had a saying, we are serving the people, body and soul. So I'm going to stop and turn it over to Elaine.
Thank you. Thank you, Erica. And and I'm not going to talk about my own experience per se, although I would like to mention one little thing. But I joined the Black Panther Party in Southern California, in the Southern California chapter that Erica Huggins was one of the founding members of, which she has not given herself enough credit for. But in any case, at that time, people wonder, well, how did you end up in the Black Panther Party and how did this all happen? Well, it happened because there was a big sweep of history going on. I mean, notwithstanding, hundreds of years of oppression for African people lost in America, there was the immediate history and immediate situation. As David pointed out, 1965 was certainly a pivotal year in that the Gulf of Tonkin was invaded by the United States government. Johnson invaded the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam, and thus the war was on, although there had been many other things going on in Vietnam against the Vietnamese people before that. And then in 1965, there was a shooting, very much like the Rodney King event, the beating of Rodney King. This was a shooting of a man named Leonard Detweiler in 1965, and Watts exploded. And it was the first time in many, many years, actually the first time that blacks had risen up in righteous rage, but without very much other than rage. And what was called a riot, the Watts riot, what everyone else calls, those of us who lived there called it the Watts uprising. As for me, all of this was going on. And at the same time, out of the Watts uprising, a lot of organizations began to converge in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is a very important city. Los Angeles, we can remember, is the birthplace of the Crips, which has spread across this country. And we all heard about Chucky Williams, and we all have our vision of what that all means. But at that time in Los Angeles, you had an organized street gang, as it were, called the Slaussons. And the Slaussons were second only to the P.E.C Nation of the Blackstone Rangers out of Chicago as a major urban gang, a force in urban America. Remembering that most of us, many of us, especially people started the Black Panther Party, David and Huey and Bobby were first generation in the North. Most of us had come out of the South. So there was a whole urbanizing of Black America going on. And so there was a shift going on through the migrations, and so forth. But at that time in Los Angeles, there was so much going on because Los Angeles is such a big city. and it was an important city. So you had the presence in '65 of the Slossons. You had a 4-day uprising that was all day long for 4 days, 24 hours each day. And by this time, people were identifying themselves as Black. The word Black power had kind of like seeped into the language and so forth. And so everybody's coming together, and an organization in Los Angeles was formed called the Black Congress. The Black Congress was composed of a variety of Black organizations, everything from the Welfare Rights Organization. Amazingly, there was a Welfare Rights Organization. Now we don't even concern ourselves with such issues of poverty of people and their children. The Welfare Rights Organization, I believe SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, had a representative there, any number of groups. I was there as a representative of something called the Black Student Alliance out of UCLA before we went again. And there was an organization called the US organization that was also a part of the Black Congress. And so after Watts, everybody was sort of positioning him or herself as to where do you stand on this or that in terms of Black things? Are you a civil rights advocate? Are you violent or nonviolent? Are you militant? And so this was kind of a cultural ambiance, but that really wasn't going anywhere.
It's always these questions. I always feel like they never go anywhere. I felt just like that. It's always something. Blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter how you answer, it's never going to be good enough, and they never seem to go anywhere.
Black Congress organized to say, in Los Angeles, we were going to have all the voices of Black people come together around the issues that concern Black people, although nobody exactly.
That's always the attempt. That's the attempt. That is the attempt. And it never goes anywhere.
Knew what those issues were. And there was a lot of posturing, and there were a lot of people who would carry guns in their briefcases and wear little glasses, and there was a whole culture around that too, you know. And so suddenly, however, there was word that the Black Panther Party that Huey Newton had started was going to come to Los Angeles. I cannot tell you, you think that there was an earthquake going on in Los Angeles. You think you've heard of earthquake in Los Angeles. Believe me, everyone was trembling. And why was everyone trembling? Because in October of 1967, when Huey Newton was charged, and that in that moment that Erica saw that picture and that we all saw eventually of this man who was a leader who had said, I will stand up, who was now charged with the killing of a policeman. So you had the state and the people, you had the oppressed and the oppressor, you had Black and white. So you had every single thing converging in this incredible moment in history when Huey Newton was arrested. And when representatives from the Black Panther Party came to the Black Congress to say, we want to get the support of the Black Congress for the defense of Huey Newton, only one person rose up with a voice opposing that, and that man was Ron Karenga, whom a lot of people study now because he allegedly started this celebration called Kwanzaa. And Ron Karenga did not want to hear about the Black Panther Party because at that moment, he had positioned himself as the, quote, most militant of the organizations. And there got to be a struggle. It wasn't ideological. In fact, it was really about not letting an organization that was going to be and rose to be a real a challenge to the status quo, that we were talking about capitalism, we were talking about racism, talking about all of this. And so when Karenga opposed even the very conversation about Huey Newton, some of us sitting in that room said that, oh no, we wanted to hear about it. And so there got to be a big debate. And so we all learned about the Free Huey campaign. But then the rumblings began that the party was now not just going to be this place in Oakland, this distant place in Oakland, seemed very distant, you know.
It's a lot of information, huh, Belly? That's what I was saying.
At that time, but there was going to be this organization, and it was going to be headed by the man who had been in charge of the Slossons, who were the predecessors to the Crips, 5,000 strong, called the mayor of the ghetto, Bunchy Carter. Bunchy Carter. And everyone was afraid because everyone knew at that moment that there had been a change in things. It was not going to be just a conversation at the Black Congress anymore. Then the little pamphlets passed out about let's protest whatever it was. There was going to be action. Now, within a matter of months from that period in late 67, early 68, Bunchy Carter did organize the Southern California chapter. And we were all very, very afraid. And so in February of that year, the Black Panther Party, the National Black Panther Party, organized a Huey Newton birthday party to say, let's all free Huey, but freeing Huey meaning freeing us. This is about something different. And so now the ante was up. It was no longer rhetoric. It was about action. And it was about challenging what was there. And so everybody came, 10,000, 15,000 to the Los Angeles Auditorium. I've forgotten the name of it, the sports arena. And we listened to everyone who was an activist or from SNCC, Rap Brown, Stokely Carmichael, you name him. Everyone who was in the movement was there calling for the freedom of Huey Newton. And I was among the people who were in the audience, and I was overwhelmed and swept away by this wave of things, but still too afraid to actually make a commitment to the Black Panther Party. And then one day I actually met Bunchy Carter, and I'll just tell this and close my part. And Bunchy Carter was, among many things, a freedom fighter and a genius and an extremely handsome man on top of everything else. And Bunchy Carter,
Can't forget that part.
who was also a poet. Bunchy came into a room where everybody was sitting around, in those days, like you have slams today. We used to have poetry readings then too. You had the Watts poets, and then, we had the last poet somewhere else. We had the Watts poets and a whole bunch of other people in LA. And so everybody was reading poetry and everybody was blowing, as we used to call it. And Bunchy opened the doors to the this auditorium where we all were, a small auditorium. And there, lined around the walls were about 20 some guys that came in with him, most of them armed to the teeth. And Bunchy said he came to read some poems even though he wasn't invited. And everybody was absolutely riveted and terrified in some ways and not. I want to just say, I will tell you at the end what this poem that I want to end my part with. But before I do that, I want to say this. Ultimately, in the later part of that year, in April of '68, Bobby Hutton became the first member of the Black Panther Party to be assassinated by the police in April up in Oakland, and Eldridge Cleaver was wounded and then escaped and so forth in that terrible incident. And any number of Panthers were hurt. And it was after that day, that I finally said to myself, there's nothing you can do except for join the Black Panther Party. At this point, you can't pretend anymore that you care, that you're committed to anything if you're not going to really commit your life to that. And I walked into the Black Panther Party office, and there was this tall, long woman there named Erica Huggins, and she was the captain of the women at this point. And she said, well, can I help you? And I said, yes, I want to join the Black Panther Party. And she gave me a card to fill out and then told me how I just have to commit my entire life and limb and body and soul. And was I prepared to do that? And I thought, well, okay, I think. And Erica didn't play, I assure you. You see a very gentle woman, and she's always been this way. But let me tell you that the line gets drawn quickly. And so if you want to play around, you don't want to be playing around with Erica Huggins. So I just want to say that's what happened. But I want to end by saying when Bunchy Carter spoke, so many people listened. And what was important about him and why it was important for the police to kill him and John Huggins, one of the other founding members of the Southern California chapter, through the US organization's members, Ron Karenga's US organization members who were the assassins of John Huggins and Bunchy Carter, within a year or more of the parties having been founded in Southern California, was important because Bunchy Carter was a leader in the Black community, but not just the Black community that was the most terrifying to America, the young men with guns. And to imagine 5,000 Slossons, instead of shooting each other, deciding to put on the Black Panther uniform and decide to understand who the enemy really was, the way Tookie Williams was denounced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, not because he had been a Crip or founder of the Crips, but because he said George Jackson was his hero, which is what Schwarzenegger said. Then we have to understand the significance of an urban young Black man deciding that he is not going to participate in this kind of internecine warfare, but join hands and arms with his brothers and sisters and rise up against that is actually oppressing us. That is what was significant about the Southern California chapter and Bunchy Carter in particular. Now I'm going to close by just saying one of the poems that he said, and so someone said, well, he said, we're here to tell you the party is here. We're here to tell you that there'll be we're going to end oppression in this area. Huey Newton is our leader, and we were all riveted and afraid and at once excited. And then he said 2 poems, and I want to say a bit of one of them, and it was called Black Mother. And this was another reason to, sign on the dotted line and say, I need to join the Black Panther Party. He said, Black Mother, I must confess that I still breathe, though you are not yet free. What could justify my crying start? Forgive my coward's heart, but blame me not the sheepish me, for I've been sleeping in a deep, deep sleep, and I be hazed and dazed, and vipers fester in my hair. Black Mother, I curse your drudging years, the rapes, heartaches, sweat, and tears, but I swear on siege night, dark and gloom, a rose I'll wear to honor you, and when I fall, a rose in hand, you'll be free, and I, a man for a slave of natural death who dies, can't balance out to 2 dead flies. I'd rather be without the shame, a bullet lodged within my brain. Black Mother. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? My name is Frederica Newton, and
I'm just going to say that was a lot of information I didn't know about.
I came into the party. I was 18 years old. I was actually the most unlikely person in my high school to join the Black Panther Party. I was not involved in politics at all. So I'll tell you.
I don't see why you two just don't pop up on the panel so we could actually have this discussion rather than in the chat. That seems pretty interesting. Just saying.
How I joined. My mother was a real estate broker who pretty single-handedly was responsible for getting rid of redlining in the Bay Area and even most of Northern California, actually. And as children, we didn't know exactly all the work that my mother was doing, as we don't as children often know our parents as people, just know them as mom and dad and wonder what it is that they're doing when they're not at home. And my mother was doing some very, very important work. I grew up in Berkeley, California, and I was going to university in Oregon, Willamette University, and had come home for holiday at Christmas. And I lived on a street in Berkeley, California that was kind of a hotbed for all of the left political goings on in that area. I think it was ground zero for a lot of things that were happening nationally. Next door to me, Bob Scheer, who was editor of Ramparts magazine, lived with Ann Scheer. Jane Fonda lived down the street when she was up in the Bay Area working. Tom Hayden later moved in next door with Ann Scheer, and they were part of an organization called the Red Guerrilla Family. And so this is what was going on in this one block street where I grew up. When I came home for Christmas break, my mother told me that Huey Newton was coming over for breakfast that morning, for brunch. And I said, why? Why? Huey Newton? And the Panthers represented to me, I was frightened because of what I'd read in the media. Mind you, I was not a debutante, but a homecoming queen, and the my Miss Black Berkeley, and honestly, that's as deep as my thinking got. Although we were marching in peace marches before we could even walk. As children, oftentimes kids veer away from what their parents, if my mother's doing this, then I definitely don't want to do that. And that was the case. My mother kind of looked at me and shook her head as I was growing up, that these were the things that were important to me. And when I saw Huey in my home, David Hilliard was there, and other party leaders were in that home. I was really pretty intimidated. They looked pretty stern, and I just wanted to go shopping in the mall. And I was really struck at how gracious and kind Huey was. It came to a point where everybody had asked him a question, and I hadn't. And so I said, what was it like in prison? I didn't have any political question to ask, and he graciously answered me. It was very lonely there. And I immediately was struck by him. I went back to
Shane Kruma, welcome. Hold on, are you on? Let me see.
Yes.
That's my bad. My bad. My fault. What are you doing awake?
Just woke up. I could ask you the same question.
Doing my usual thing. P.E.C. Yeah, for Yanga. It needs to be done. It just needs to be done. So, yeah. Plus, I was like, shh, I'll tell you about it later. Text you about that privately, but just couldn't. I just had to stay up. He's still on vacation, so. Um, you know you can pop up here, sir. Mr. Cool. You know you can pop up here. Um, back to what I was saying. Yeah, welcome. So I'm doing a PEC, People's Education Committee for Brother Yanga. I feel like he's slacking, so and I already sent some invites out to a couple of the Panther podcasts to see if they want to get on this Ancestor Day. And okay, good. You gonna find some headphones. Great. What was I gonna say? And yeah, so I'm doing that. It's there's so much. There's so much material that just hasn't been covered.
Yeah.
You know me? So I feel like maybe I can get one or two more in. Like, let's see if I can just knock about the park. Before I address, I don't know what to address yet. But I wanted to share something with you, but I don't think I can. It was a black media thing with Dion and Marcel.
Yeah, I was just about to watch that.
That was hell. That was hell. That was hell. That was hell. You know what I mean? Hell. Like, bad. Like, I don't even know what to say about that. So, so what else is going on? Dude, did you listen to business? We're just bullshitty Black Rally. So we're just chopping it up. While we're waiting to see if Joe finds his headphones. Chop it up real quick. So what's up, Jesse? Talk to me, man.
What's up is I just woke up. Asked me where the suite was, and I had messaged him, and he said you were live. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the one on the east side is until Thursday.
Yeah, there's one on the north side today.
I swear to God, this place is haunted. It's like it's the curtain's like all the way out to here. Okay, hold on a sec. Let me add our other friend on. All right.
Cool.
Hey, there you go, Jesse.
What's
Joe.
good? What's good, guys?
Good to see you, bro.
We're all
Same, man.
BSing in the chat.
I love this shit y'all talking about. I'm from Chicago, man. I stay on Monroe, up the street from where they shot up Huey them. I also the two suburbs over is the Black Panther Cubs party headquarters.
Yeah.
And I am a serious activist, man. You could check my fucking channel. I'm doing the shit now, but I've been doing this shit since I was a kid, man. I've been all over. I heard y'all talking about Snick. Well, the lady that
I
was.
was reading the it's called The Origins of the Panther. It's doing a video exploration. So I was just listening. I was like, whoa, it's
I
intense.
I know Bob Moses. We hung out a few times together. He's one of the founders of SNCC. So I believe in God too. I've never been to church, but I believe in God, and I believe in signs and symbols, and I don't believe shit happens by coincidence and circumstance, man. Shit, I must
Okay,
suppose it came here.
are you in
Right.
Colorado now?
Now, I'm in Colorado now, travel film, and my girlfriend lives in Colorado. Plus, me and Eric and Otto now been friends. I don't know if you know him. I saw Jesse in chat. We've been friends for a couple of
Yeah.
years since I started cop watching. So I'm over here like at least every other month. I'd spend a couple of weeks or so with these guys out here at the ranch.
I
Yeah.
hate talking to him. I hate talking to him. Can't
Two-
get me to do it.
I met you
But
back in 2018 when we were protesting outside the corner bakery.
Ah, I remember. You knew them niggas before I did. When
Yeah.
I when I met them, they were fighting that fight. And when I met them, the first video I probably saw of them was the corner bakery did. Yeah. Ah, that's crazy, y'all.
I'm a Black Panther Cub too. My grandmother was a Black Panther.
You probably know some of my buddies over there in Chicago. That's where his kid, he has a house over there in the suburbs in Bellwood, and
Oh,
they meet up over there a lot. Yeah.
nice. Are you familiar with New Era Chicago?
New Era? I don't think I am. No.
They've been doing a lot of stuff out there as well.
I've been with all the community groups and shit out on the west side, but I ain't gonna bullshit you at the same time. I was doing a lot of hustling and selling dope and using dope and a bunch of crazy shit. I just stopped. I don't
living
know,
life.
maybe yeah. Just so I was still doing
Let's hope
activist
living
shit,
life.
but I was doing the other shit too.
Yeah,
I
I
just
can relate. I can
yeah.
relate.
yeah, you
I
can
probably
relate.
would have felt the same way at least like over the last almost 2 years. I was a gang member, so so
Yeah, hit
I
me
still gotta
too.
control myself. Still, I get
Uh,
mad. I still I'm a lot. Yes. You know what I mean? And enjoy helping Jesse with his politics. It's like
yeah.
every time I'll be like, man, I don't know this shit. I'm a gang member. Like, you know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, let me
I've
calm
been a
down. Let me
gang
calm
member.
down. And like,
We vice lords and folk on
yeah,
hustles over here and GDs and shit a little
yeah,
further
this
east.
side, yeah.
But shit, I joined when I was 10 and I was been serious activist, since I was a teenager,
I
man.
think I used to tell Jesse it takes a lot to be an activist. It's like a real job. Like
It
I don't
is.
really know about it, like know as much as he does because he's been doing it for fucking damn near a decade. But
Yeah,
me, like I have moments where I'm super passionate outside of the field. I'm like, oh, especially when it comes to homeless shit, because I was
Yeah,
like sleeping on the sidewalk for real, like them, for like 5 years. So it's
yeah.
super intense with me. But
We
uh,
do that. We do the Janice kissing. Jesse, that's you up here, Jesse. The one who was in chat.
yeah,
Uh,
that's me.
okay, then you'll know about Janet's kitchen and all of that. Feeding the homeless shit. Yeah, yeah. We do that shit all the time up here, man. I got some.
Off with
shit, what's your homeless situation look like out there?
I started off with Occupy Denver.
Yeah, all these cats occupy Denver. Very good. It's pretty bad over here in Denver, and they've been battling the cat that me and Jesse talking about. They've been fighting for years. The guy Eric Brand, he just got 12 years for threatening for saying I hope something bad happens to a judge. For words, they gave him 12 years for that shit. But
Damn,
he was out there battling this shit. He's been shoeless since I knew him. They homeless guy didn't have shoes. They wouldn't let him
shoeless.
in somewhere as protest, he stopped wearing shoes. I met
Yep.
him like 2.5 years ago. It was in the wintertime. We go out and we do a protest somewhere. It's snow out there. And sure enough, he has no shoes on.
Oh,
That's me.
what's good?
Yeah.
I don't wear shoes anywhere. You see me just I didn't wear shoes all day Saturday.
No,
We had an event.
even wearing shoes.
I came in the world without shoes. I came in the world without shoes.
Yeah.
Plus, I just know my feet. I got confidence like that. I'm like, hey, that's cool. It wasn't even a rock.
If you ever go to or have been to LA, their homeless shit, I thought Denver shit was heavy because in Chicago, we don't have them homeless people together like I saw in Denver. We don't have one location like that where they just all camped out and blah blah. So that was pretty shocking to me. Then I go to LA and see their shit.
Oh,
It goes on
boy,
just for
fuck.
blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. It's like on steroids.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
some
super fucked
40
up.
city blocks is full of nothing but encampments.
You can smell it before you get there. The guys who took me there, they're cop watchers too. They was telling me about it. They know I'm an activist and I do homeless shit. And they was like, you'll be able to smell it before you get there. I thought that was insane. I didn't tell them that, but it sounded dumb as fuck. But sure enough, the smell changed before you even could see these guys. They're
Yeah,
that
it's
thick
like
over
that.
there.
Certain parts of the
Yeah,
triangle downtown and stuff. It's like that.
one of our correspondents is out there, Shabakas Corey.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I was born in East LA, so I have some stuff buried over there. You know, like in the actual cemetery, and where there's a lot of change happening in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. And I had to ask to make sure that the cemetery is still there. You know,
Uh,
so
that's
I
where you
kind of
buried
like.
those bodies. You better be careful what you say on
No,
the internet, man.
my father was buried over there. She would never tell nobody any kind of crazy shit like that. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Fucking
Right? I have no idea what you're talking about, Joe.
burial. That means there's something left. You know, that's
Uh,
stupid. Like, come on. No,
hey, can you play videos? What is your name? Seduction.
of course I can play videos.
Can you
Yes.
go find my channel, Joe Cool? Oh, you making me want to smoke, nigga. I was smoking a black, but I'm getting a bowl now, bro.
This is a
Oh,
backwoods, man. I think
okay.
backwoods are the hardest raps ever. Like you
I've
can
been
never get a
gave up.
good hint,
I've been
never get a
gave up.
good
Try
hit.
to roll with backwoods. Yeah,
It doesn't stay fucking lit. It's
you
like
you tear up three of them before you get the one you want, right? It
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, I like Swissers. If I'm a roll one, it's
I'm
gonna
a
be.
cheap motherfucker. I don't care. Just this is crazy. How did they
I
make
got.
so much money? Like that's all I want to know. How did they
I,
make so much money?
I'm with my man Jesse. That's what I got here. I'm gonna show you right now. I got switches right now. I got the sweets and the oh fuck, I need a lighter. It's so dark in here. Yeah, that's what I'm smoking on too. Where is it? Oh,
Oh,
that's the back. I got
Okay,
the
I found
sweets
it.
and
I
the
found it.
silver. Yeah.
All right,
All right.
hold on. Which one do you want to?
You got to
You
go
want to
back
see?
like 4 months ago. There's one with Otto in Texas, and some more people. Boss ID refusal. Cops never stood a chance. That's the title.
are they still in Rockwell?
No, they I think all the Rockwall charges at damn was in Rockwall too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's in he was in Fort Worth, and then I don't know, about a few weeks ago I met him in Texas, and then I had went somewhere else. Then I came back here, and he was over here for a couple days before he left, and now I'm still here. Uh, Liberty Freak up. Yeah, that's it. There, you gonna love that shit. Play that for my man, Joe. He know who that is. Jesse know who that
There's a
is.
I don't know how to say this appropriately, but there's a black guy and two white women, and the black guy's wearing a mask.
Okay, that's an emergency.
Oh, it is. Oh, fantastic. I was kind of just afraid that they were, just like, hey, what do you think the police are going to do when they show up? They're going to yank them all out of the car and demand IDs?
But they're not going to yank them out of the car if you said that.
Oh, actually, that's exactly what they did last night.
Asking you politely, ma'am.
No. Let me rack this up real quick because that shit was funny as hell. Hold on a second. I'm sorry.
But there's a black guy and two white women, and the black guy's wearing a mask.
Okay, that's an emergency.
Oh, it is. Oh, fantastic. Because I was kind of just afraid that they were, just like, hey, what do you think the police are going to do when they show up? You think they're going to yank them all out of the car and demand IDs?
But but they're not going to yank them out of the car if you say that.
Oh, actually, that's exactly what they did last night.
I'm asking you politely, ma'am.
Well, that's.
Hey, my man, can I borrow $50? I'm asking you politely.
Got one that can sing.
So we just got cops just pulled in behind us. It's me, Carolina, and Joe Coy in Phoenix.
You going live? Go live.
Phoenix is my girlfriend.
I've never went live before yet in my life.
That's me right there in the
Shining
car, in
up
the
the
front seat there.
Stay in the car.
Lights on? He did.
Stay in the car. Stay in the car. Stay in the car. Stay in the car.
All right, buddy, I got you yelling, man. You yelling there.
We were in Texas when this happened. This is in Fort Worth, I think.
I want to be able to roll my window.
Can I help you?
Yeah. What are you guys up to?
None of your
He
business.
sounds drunk as hell.
Is that against the law?
Yeah, you're acting suspicious.
I am. Is
Because
that
you're pulling behind KFC.
is that a misdemeanor or a felony?
I'm asking you, what are you guys doing?
I don't have to tell you anything.
We don't answer questions.
Don't answer questions.
I'd have been nicer, man, had you not been yelling at me like a crazed lunatic.
Well, you put on a face mask, you got a hoodie on.
That shit's illegal. You ain't seen a hoodie and face mask during COVID, smart ass.
Do you have an ID, ma'am?
No, I don't. Sure don't.
Do you have anything with your name on it, ma'am?
Nope, sure don't.
That's how me and my guys get down. We don't play, bro.
You're being investigated for acting suspicious. You drove around the block a couple of times.
Ooh, that crazy drive around the block.
Hey, you ever heard of Texas Penal Code 38.02?
Oh, you are them kind of people, right?
Absolutely.
Them kind of people?
Yeah. You're one of those kind of cops, aren't you?
Yeah, bro.
You got backup coming.
Yeah. I hope one of these is
Do you have any kind of ID on you, ma'am?
No, I don't.
Do you have a name and date of birth?
No, I don't.
She's like, eat a dick.
Right.
Right,
No
fuck
crime,
you.
no ID, buddy.
Rice, is it Rice? Rice?
You're dismissed.
Right.
Actually, I was on a press stop. We circled around a couple of times, and then they pulled behind the KFC trolley. When they pulled up, this guy with the hoodie and mask on.
You gonna tell them they pull into a parking lot and this guy gets out with a hood and mask on. Okay. I couldn't help but laugh. None of that shit's illegal. Get the fuck away from me.
You didn't ask me, bro.
You didn't ask, everybody.
Yeah, I asked if you had an ID.
No, you didn't say nothing to me,
You never
Cal.
asked about.
Do you have an ID, sir? I do have an ID, and I wouldn't give it to you cats without making a law or a rule.
Oh, I was just asking if you had one.
I know, yeah, you're very good. I'm not going to give you a hard time.
Oh, that's fine. I was just asking if you had one. I didn't ask to give it to me. I just asked if you had one.
Yeah. Most of us have an ID, right? This is America. You can't get in the store without an ID nowadays.
You can't do anything without ID, really.
Yeah.
That's right. I bet you see that too, right? You need ID to go in the stores, literally, shop, have cigars and shit now. Let me see what this cat's talking about.
Why? Because I don't have to. Why should I?
Well, I'm asking you politely, ma'am.
Well, that's.
Hey, my man, can I borrow $50? I'm asking you politely.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I
Can I
find out
borrow
who you guys are,
$50, bro?
if I find out who you guys are in your truck,
I can borrow $50. I'm asking politely, bro. What does that even mean?
Can I borrow your gun for a couple of days? I'm asking politely.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You as well, Riff. Hey, you the man, bro. Riff, you are the man, bro. All right.
You gonna see Otto again at the end of the bit.
You have reached the City of Arlington Action Center. For quality assurance, your call may be recorded. You can also report various issues by texting and on our free Ask Arlington app. Para Español.
Oh my God.
Hi, the City of Arlington is hosting a job fair on Thursday, December 9th.
A job fair.
Hola, la ciudad de Arlington.
Oh my God.
Gracias. app
So
on the
twisted,
Apple App
bro.
Store and Google
It's
Play
so
Store.
sick.
The municipal court is located at.
Hey.
An extension or a payment plan.
Don't tell me you ain't got nobody on the phone yet,
Jesus
bro.
Christ.
I went in the house and made tea. He's still trying to get a cop
Hi,
on
good
the
morning.
phone.
How you doing?
What can I do
Oh,
for you?
yes. I would like to report some suspicious activity.
Okay, the phone number for that is 817.
Oh.
274.
Okay.
Swear it's hard to get a cop.
Arlington Police Department Station. Officer Brady speaking.
Hi, yes. I would like to report some suspicious activity.
Okay, I'll need to forward you over.
Se ha comunicado con el teléfono de emergencia para policía, bomberos y ambulancia de Arlington.
They make it any more difficult to get a cop on the line.
Good. Like in that 2 minutes, 20,000 people died already.
Hi, yes. There's some suspicious people riding around in a very expensive car, and I'm very suspicious. Oh, I don't think it's an emergency. I'm just concerned because they just like drove around the building and now they're parking, and there's a I don't know how to say this appropriately, but there's a black guy and two white women, and the black guy's wearing a mask.
Okay, that's an emergency.
Oh, it is. Oh, fantastic! Because I was kind of just afraid that they were, just like trying to get some food or something like that, during COVID.
Okay, call 911.
Could you please tell? Jeez, Jesse, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, I got some shit with Eric Brown on that too.
That shit was hilarious.
Oh yeah, I know that shit is hilarious. I'm being out at actions with Eric, and he's just doing the wildest, most extreme shit.
Oh my god! And if you could tolerate one more bit, I got one with Eric. I can't. This guy.
What's it under?
It's on my shit. This guy, I think it's destroys judges and cops. I think that's the title of it. It's got to be like a year ago. He was about to go to jail, and that night, so I made the video for him. And that night, it was like 4:00 in the morning. He was like, "Did you post the vid yet?" Like, yeah. And he went and he beat it that day, and he got out. This cop destroys. You go by most popular. It's got to be like the thing. Got to have like
Well, I'm in
100.
the 1 year, so I'm just trying to find the title.
I'm not sure. If you go by most popular, it's got to be like in the top 5 or 10 vids. This cop destroys judges and cop. This guy can destroy judges and cops, I think is the title. But that's the cat we were talking about with the bare feet and all of that shit. Yeah, it was like, he's like a god to cats like me.
Yeah, can't nobody do it better than Eric.
Yeah, he's like, that's why they got rid of him, right? He was serious. I agree with that. They scared of him.
He used his white privilege for good.
Yes, he did, and they hated him as much as they hated us. Man. That motherfucker, when I met him, he'd been to jail over.
What'd you say it was called?
This man destroys cops and judges. Are you going by most popular?
Yeah, I'm in there.
All right, good girl. You found it? You see it all?
Just like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, let me put you on the share. Let's share it because I'm just over here wandering around. Hold on a sec. Wandering around and get lost somewhere. Like, oh my god, forget what I was actually here. Okay, you see it?
Oh yeah. Let me zoom in. All right. Hello, smile mouth cops will want to ask kindly. Keep going. It's not up there. And this is by most popular.
Yeah.
Fuck. It's got to be. I'm sorry, baby. Can you go back up to the top? Because this thing got to have a few 100,000 views. All right, let me see. Asking kindly, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there it is. The right on the top. This man owns police and judges.
There you go.
I'm going to take this button today. This is my favorite button right now.
That's the bakery he was just talking about.
It is better to die on your feet than to live
Yeah.
on your knees.
Throw me, nigga. James, over here. This guy's a psycho. Get out of my face. See?
Get out of
your face? You're the one following me. You're the one following me. You see? What are you trying to do? Set him up again. Yeah, fuck you, you fat piece of shit. Fuck yourself, you fat fuck you.
Yeah, there are real issues that need to be addressed, and when you get more educated on the issue, then you can start talking to me about it.
I'm going to be a little bold,
Okay. Okay.
Mental illness is not an excuse to be a jackass. Okay.
So then, what is your excuse? 45 is the one I believe you're looking for.
Okay, so that one is for the vehicles.
Uh-huh.
And also down here, number 53, failure to obey any directive from an RTD employee or representative related to an RTD operations. So that's to put your shoes on. You're failing in that directive, okay?
I'm failing in that directive? But you don't have the lawful authority to make me put shoes on.
I don't wear shoes nowhere.
You do? Do you have the lawful authority to make me dance like a chicken? Okay. So this is Corporal Jenkins. You just got promoted. Congratulations. Would you care to tell me what we need to do now?
I'd like your name and date of birth before elections. You contacted us here. You have the authority to ask your name and date of birth.
So you have the authority to ask my name and date of birth. You have the authority to demand my name and date of birth. Which crime specifically am I suspect?
They hate him.
They would like your information.
They would like it? What does the law say about giving them my information?
We're contacting you. The law says we can ask you your name and date of birth.
Okay. Well, what will happen if I don't provide that?
Then it's false information. You've been through this before.
So it's false information if I exercise my Fifth Amendment right to remain silent? Do you want to ask the sergeant, since he's standing right here? Sergeant, are you going to allow him to detain me for not producing my identification when I'm not a suspect in a crime?
I can see your names on your flyer right here.
Oh, that's somebody's YouTube channel.
Oh,
so
that's your live feed that we're watching right now.
That's a YouTube channel.
I believe it's
So,
your YouTube channel that we're watching.
well, you may believe whatever you wish, Sergeant. But my question is, am I being detained by your officers, or am I free to leave?
Sir, they're asking that you don't come back, so I think you're free to leave. They're going to ask you not to come back to their facility.
They can ask me not to come back to their facility, but this is a public facility, right?
They still have their rules as far as who they let in past their limit.
Well, no, she gave me a tour. They told me that I couldn't come past the orange line right there.
Okay.
Right, but I asked for a tour. They were giving other people tours, and Diana was willing to give me a tour. Right.
So you're
So
free to go
now your officer's detaining me and telling me that I have to provide him with my identification, and I object to that.
Okay, well, that's fine. You can object, and now you're free to go.
Okay, so I'm no longer being detained?
You weren't detained at any point. He was asking you for your name and date of birth, which you refused to give, which is fine.
Right, all right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
He's a psycho. Get out of my face, he said. Get out of my face.
Get out of my face.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face. Fuck you, kid.
Right.
Yeah. Is that it? It's still there. It's almost dead. Is that a buffer or something? It's buffering.
Right, it's buffering.
It's
Oh,
cold.
what's
It's
that about?
cold. When it's hot, the box messes up. When it's cold, it messes up. It's like cold all of a sudden. I had to put my hoodie on. It's like,
Wow. Yeah, it's kind of
it's
chilly
not good
here.
right now. It's freezing. Like, well, I'm in Aurora right now, so it's really cold. Hold on, I just kind of redid it.
Wait, you're in Aurora, Colorado?
Yeah.
I forgot you said you're in Colorado. Too.
Yeah, I am. I'm in Colorado.
I'm in Manzanola. I'm out by the desert and all that shit.
Yeah, I'm in Colorado.
Actually, this is desert.
Hold on, let me stop it real quick. I'll start right back up.
All right,
So hold on a
good
second.
chat.
Let's see. What the hell? Okay, that's good. Okay, good. He's good. What's going on right here? Hold on a second.
This
Oh,
is
it's stupid. Like all of a sudden they just
this
froze up on me.
this
Hold on
is
a second.
funny to me. I do a lot of panels and shit, and I see this so much, I die laughing. I
When it
got,
freezes up,
when the
yeah,
people
it's
have fucking
embarrassing.
problems, period, doing this shit, to find this shit. I got one buddy. He's really he got a great show, Drama Dome. Probably 20,000 subs or something. But he sucked when it come to computer shit. It's like he's cursed. Shit always fucking up, man. He got good shit. It's just I got so many friends go through this. It's funny. Man.
Sad I haven't restarted my shit in like
Oh,
fucking
Joe, I just
a
saw
week.
the channel and I put it in the chat too.
My bad. Thanks for that. Yeah.
Hold on a sec.
You'll see, I've been fucking with these niggas. You'll see the Rockwell, the rest bed is on there at Rockwell.
Yeah, I remember those videos. Aren't they on like True Live or
True
something?
to live, yeah. They're on there, they're my buzz. I was in on creating that shit. Well, just, I don't have the technical skills, but when we put the idea together, I was in there. I started, probably still got something on there, the very first vids from when it first began. Then they had technical issues. It's hard to upload a vid and shit, so I ain't uploading there in forever.
Okay, here we go. Where we got it? I got it going. Okay, bam.
But yeah, the Rockwall shit.
There you go.
Fucking wrong with you? You fat fucking son of a bitch! You already told me mental illness isn't an excuse, so
No, it's further. You was further. You had played all that. If you ain't
Okay, did I go further up?
Oh, did you get your minor degree
yeah.
from a
That's the
prominent
beginners.
university?
No, I went out on a limb.
Sir, this is public property.
Actually, this is private.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you
all
are.
this.
Trespassing. You have been asked to leave the property. Okay. Right now, you are trespassing. Perfectly. Awesome. I totally appreciate that.
This is public property.
Actually, this is private property that you're on right now. It is.
Who owns it?
The Adams County government.
Adams County government. Oh, I forgot about his name. Didn't he run for president? No, he's not a person. It's the public. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Sir?
No justice, no peace, but please.
Oh shit.
I know, right?
Headphones.
Everywhere he went, he did that.
Gentlemen, I need your ID, please, so I can write you a summons.
You will be willing to write me a summons?
Yes.
Outstanding.
I need your ID also, please, sir. Okay, I'm going to place you under arrest then.
You're not placing me under arrest. You have no right to ask for any.
Come here.
All right, sir. You have any questions for now?
I have a number of questions for the officer, actually, and I also have a witness here. My first question for the officer is, did you file a valid cause of action for this?
You mean why I was there?
Did you file a valid cause of action for this court?
I do not understand the question.
Is this on? That's on the video, right?
This is on the video. Did you notice Eric was willing to ID first?
No, that's what I'm asking the raise question.
Because he'll take him to court. This is him talking in court.
No, Your Honor.
I'm not asking the judge, I'm asking you.
God, you're always gonna get the bus.
No. What is the code?
That's right. Make them work. Shit.
Right.
Subsection of 803 under the Model Traffic Code published 2010, alleging
he
that I
smokes
violated
cigarettes.
specifically.
Right.
I do not know the code verbatim.
How can you bring a valid cause of action
Don't stop. Keep
if you
going.
do not know the elements of the cause that you're bringing?
No, that's his boss. He hear his boss yelling at him to stop chasing him.
I need to have an actual verbatim reading of the code that I'm being charged
When
with
he
on
ran
record.
around in a whole circle.
Yeah, they back to Eric.
I certainly do not consent to the jurisdiction of this court if it can't provide the code. I challenge the court's jurisdiction on any showing of proof that there's proper jurisdiction.
You don't get to challenge the court's
jurisdiction in this matter. You have subjected yourself to this court's jurisdiction.
Well, I've certainly not subjected or acquiesced to any consent to the court's
You will
jurisdiction.
certainly have.
And any time that someone challenges the jurisdiction of the court, nothing else can happen until that jurisdiction is shown on the record.
The officer doesn't know exactly what the code is. He's already admitted that. We're going to move forward.
And let the record show that the court did not give me a formal reading of the charge. Let the record show that the court did not.
I like where you're sitting.
Jurisdiction on the record. The court doesn't have the authority to determine jurisdiction. It must be shown on the record.
Okay, I don't want you to read the code.
I want to read the code.
I'm not going to allow you to.
Well, if we can't show that I violated the required elements, essential elements of the code, then you cannot find me guilty. Then we will do that, and we will proceed lawfully. But this is supposed to be a lawful court.
Prose your
And
own
the
shit.
law
Always
is
prose,
the
Right.
Constitution and
prose.
Declaration of Independence.
Tell me
I
fuck.
consent to the law.
Record up
I took an oath to support and defend the law.
So,
So if we're not going to proceed under the law, then there is no jurisdiction.
That's coffee for me.
And there are essential elements to this charge.
Sweet on that.
And if the court is not even going to read the charge or allow the charge to be written into the record, then you proceed at your own peril.
You brought your own demise on.
Judge Stokes, right? Stokes is super fucking whack, right? And I'm fiddling around and I accidentally switched my snap cam to my face. Okay. So she got like a few seconds of my face. And she's there like this. She's back like this, her pen goes back. Shut down the WebEx. She saw, and I was in there for like an hour.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, I saw it coming.
I didn't see Adams County one coming.
Oh no!
I thought it was Denver.
Yeah, totally blindsided.
Yeah, I didn't see Adams. I didn't think Adams County.
This was the day before he thought he was going to jail.
Oh
When
yeah.
I say I see it and saw it coming, I mean I sort of had the details of the dream aren't, that this is the kind of case it's coming.
I remember reading about this in the paper. I was just like, that's because he told the truth and he spoke up.
Yeah.
His own shit.
Cases.
Right.
Nobody likes to be taken advantage of.
Right. And he speaks up for other people, which makes him heroic to me. I just thought of it. I got another one with him, man, like 3 vids ago. If you guys want another one.
One more. What's it called?
That's about 3 vids ago. Go by latest vids, or maybe 2 or 3 vids ago. I don't know. Oh, is it Tested Theory? It might be Tested Theory.
Let's see.
All right. No, that's about go by recent. All right, thank you. You are so fucking patient.
So which one is it?
Hold on. I can scroll a little bit down. There he is. I see his face on the right there. See his face down there? That one. Tested Theory. Yeah.
Commercials. That was bound. It was bound to happen. You got the worst luck, man.
They never monetized any of that shit. I'm shocked.
Facing a felony count tonight for retaliation against a judge.
How much do I have to punish Mr. Brown so he can come back into the fold?
You get your authority from us. We are the people. You chose to put on that badge. You chose to take an oath to defend the Constitution, and we, the people, will not allow you to overstep the limited boundaries of the authority we have given you over us.
Here's what he did in this case. He told Judge Rudolph's staff, "It is my thought that Judge Rudolph should be violently murdered and have his brains splattered on the faces of his..."
I've got one that can see.
I thought, I let Judge Rudolph pound you into the canvas.
I'm not running anybody off from this place. You're trying to run me off from this place. You're trying to run me off from this place.
I promise you.
I screamed at you because you were being retarded.
Okay.
You're being detained until
The whole video is about if you think you have free speech, test the theory. These are all of us testing the theory and getting our asses whooped for testing the theory.
Don't fucking wrestle with the lollipop in your mouth.
I'm on here at the end.
I've been only nice to these people. I'm a nice person.
I'm telling you.
I don't need you to tell me shit.
I'm going to take these cuffs off of you and you're going to leave. So you guys will keep getting in your vehicle. I've got my sergeant coming. You can talk to him when he gets here.
Hey, so, dude, in training, when you become an officer, officers like him, bad cops get good cops shot.
Are you threatening to shoot me now? That's exactly what you're saying. Come here.
I never
Come here.
threatened to shoot you. I don't have a gun, sir.
I suggest please don't bark at people who are doing nothing wrong and tell them to get off public land. What's your badge number and name? Guilty 9978. Same here.
We're out of here, sir.
What's your name and badge
I don't have
number?
an answer to you.
And this is why there's a disconnect, people, with you and the people. Because of punks like you. Is it your policy not to ID yourself? Explain to you. No, you don't explain anything to me. I explain to you. I explain to you. If you don't calm down and stuff. No, I don't have to calm down. I live in a free country. All right, get arrested. For what? Disorderly conduct about abusive language. Abusive language and disorderly conduct.
Bullshit charge.
How about you do your job right, and then we won't have to file complaints that just get swept under the rug.
That's Pike's Peak.
Because your boys in blue don't give a f- about us citizens who pay taxes. They give a f- about the blue line. I'm not. I can speak. This is free speech. This is free speech. This is free speech. The First Amendment. Yep. First Amendment. That's right. Fuck the police. Hey.
You are entitled to your First Amendment rights.
Yep.
However, in public, though.
This is public place, and I can say what I want.
So cursing, though, is profanity.
Nope. Nope. No, it's not. No, it's not.
It's coarse or offensive.
No, it's not. Break it out. Show me the statute.
Person commits disorderly conduct, he or she intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly makes a coarse or obvious offensive utterance, gesture, or display in a public place.
What's a coarse or what is that?
An utterance, gesture, or display tends to incite an immediate breach of peace.
Where's the immediate breach of this peace?
You're interfering.
I'm not interfering. No, I'm not. I've been back away from that dude. I'm not. Yes, you are. You're sitting here trying to argue with me. Yes, you are. You're ready to throw cuffs on me. You put your gloves on like you were going to go to war, dude. What is your name and badge number? I'll speak to you in a second. Tomich?
Right, I like that
Yours?
too. I like that too.
Wait your turn.
Right.
And express yourself and
To let me, nigga, I got the right. You ain't let me do shit.
You're more than welcome to stand here and vocalize that. But yelling "fuck the police" and stuff like that out here.
It's been won. It's a
Just tell him to get back in his car.
Thank you. I don't give a fuck. Your state ordinance does not trump the federal laws. Okay? I have an ID wherever I want. No, you cannot. Am I being detained? Are you being detained? Hey, whoa, I'm doing it. They're detaining me. They're detaining me. I do not consent to search. Call CSPD.
Stop thinking you have free speech. You do not.
Did you guys consent to a search? Are they searching your vehicle? Did you guys
This is
consent to a
Chicago.
search? I didn't ask you nothing, baby. I was asking them. Baby, I know that. You ain't the only person who know a law. You, blow me. How about that? Blow me. And stop giving me orders, nigga. Did anybody get him consent to search the car? I do, cause you not. Are you letting them search his fucking car? Y'all can't search their car. Why ain't you stopping them from searching their car? You don't know what's going on. Do you? I can't because I'm talking to you. Well, tell them stop. Ask. Do your job. I'm gonna back up. Do your job and ask why they searching that car. Why don't you ask? Find out now. Why are they searching that car? They finna drive up. Pricks, yo. Since everybody just chilling, want to explain to me why y'all searching folks' cars? I know you didn't. It's not, yo. But it's not. It's my people, yeah. And that's what y'all do. They said they didn't know me. Is that what you thought I do? I know.
Why'd you have pulled out of the first place?
Yeah, it is my people. It is. Be clear. and you not. I was gonna say, nigga, you been sucking dick tonight? Hey, take your phone. Hey, sir, did I assault her? Did I assault her? Did I assault her? I don't know, free speech.
Verbal assault.
Verbal.
Verbal assault.
Utilizing Red Banyan's proprietary approach.
I wouldn't.
She didn't like that. None of that.
I went 2 weeks in. I was brand new when I got this arrest.
Two phones, guys. Sorry.
Hey, my last name is
Take
Let Me the fuck go.
He's not going to do it. Take a minute.
I want you to obey the law and tell me why you arrested me right now. You can do that, nigga. I can do that.
You're also impeding a lawful traffic stop. No. They were already gone, ma'am.
Whatever y'all say. No.
That's right. You got it. Can I ask you a question? Does that make you feel good, though? I mean, he was just using words. He wasn't using his fist. They already left before you decided that you were going to cuff him. You cuffed him because he said to suck his.
What would you like to tell me, sir?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
So we're not here today because I made case law ensuring that people can distribute literature.
This is where he went to jail a couple months, about a year ago.
What fighting words are as it relates to disorderly conduct. I'm not here because I've prevailed on 82% of my arrests, which are certainly indicative of misconduct at the police level. We're not here for that. We're here today because I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line legally, but I think that I crossed the line morally.
Of all of those theories, retribution speaks to me more than any of them.
Now, he has free speech. He's going to get away with saying
Here's what
shit.
I should do. I should give Mr. Brandt probation on the condition that he and Judge Rudolph go 3 rounds in the ring, and I let Judge Rudolph pound you into the candles. That's
He
what I
is
would
doing
like
the
to
same
do.
thing he just
And if
sentenced Eric to jail
anybody
for,
listening, if
saying,
you
I
are
hope you
offended
get
by
hurt.
that,
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
exact
something
thing.
wrong with you. I'd like all of you to think about how you would feel if somebody with real power, not fake cowardly power, real power like I have, said something like that to you. Mr. Brandt richly deserves the penitentiary, and I'm going to send him to the penitentiary. Only a psychopath would get joy out of inflicting the kind of pain that I'm about to inflict on you. Mr. Brandt, on each of these 3 counts, you're sentenced to 4 years in the Department of Corrections, plus a mandatory 2-year parole period. These sentences will run consecutive to one another. Mr. Brandt is remanded to the Department of Corrections.
Stay strong.
Thank you. Thank you, counsel.
Brother. We love you, Eric.
All right.
That was crazy.
Again, I don't believe that motherfuckers meet by coincidence, man. I think, y'all was supposed to see that. I was supposed to be here. All us niggas.
Conduit for all that, huh?
The conduit. What that
conduit.
Colorado shit. I've been in
Conduit,
Colorado.
yeah.
I heard you. I've been in Colorado a month now. I don't know. Everything happened for a fucking reason, man.
Yeah.
Jesse?
Oh man, that was heavy. But that's experience with Eric was a day with Eric. Constant fucking protest. The whole day is a protest.
It is, right? Everywhere, all day. I don't give a fuck if we go into town. He got to go to the post office and pick up something from the store. He is protesting somewhere somehow. It's crazy. He come out in the fucking car and he's gonna make fucking phone calls and give motherfuckers shit. I mean, they don't have an auto. They don't stop, man. You could be fucked at the stop sign. Them niggas gonna pull out a phone, call up a police station and give them shit. In the morning when they're taking their morning dumps, they're on the phone calling the police, giving them shit. And that's for real.
With the shit, yeah.
You know they hated him, man.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. They'd have to at some point, you know.
And they were successful. They took away our hero. At least it seemed successful. We'd have to wait and see because he may have turned this nigga into a martyr with that shit. And it may come back to bite him. You can't give a motherfucker all that time for words. A cop can kill a motherfucker and get 6 years and shit. We're talking about words.
Right.
And it wasn't even, I'm gonna come get you. That's a threat. You give a nigga a year or something and you got an argument. But I've studied this shit because I chased police. You can say, I hope or wish. Nigga, I wish you was dead. That all that implies that you're not gonna do anything. I hope you fall off a truck. You telling me you can start dropping niggas in jail for that now and giving everybody fucking I know is going to jail in a week. Motherfucker, I'm gonna kill you if you eat my last Doritos. Oh shit, that was a
I think it's
threat. He's
called
going to
menacing.
jail.
Yeah, they're like menacing.
Yes,
With the
that's a
intent.
menacing charge.
Cyber menacing, depending on how you do it. Yeah. So
Oh,
menacing with the intent to cause harm.
yes,
But
yes,
like, what was the intent? I don't
yeah.
know. I was just in
And
the
how do you
moment.
how do you
How do you know
determine
that was
someone else's intent? Right,
right? Yeah. How do you know it was a joke if you knew that person?
right. It's impossible.
I could be saying that as jokey to everybody think, oh, it's just she always playing.
Exactly. I'm gonna
She's not
kill you if
serious.
you go back in that refrigerator.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill
I'll
you.
punch you in the stomach. I'll punch you. I'm
Right,
like, right?
right,
And I mean, joke. I'll laugh, but they don't know if I'm serious or not.
right.
How
But
do you know what my intent is if I'm an April Fool's baby?
you tell your mate, if you cheat on me, I'd kill your ass.
Oh yeah.
According to these guys, that's a charge, that's a jailable offense, and they got to give you years in prison now for that. They did it to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that's a reality. You say that shit is like, yeah.
You just broke a law.
I know. You there telling them it's like every day, all day long. I would be in jail, under the jail, with all the shit I say.
Right?
That sounds like fascism.
Nazi shit, yeah.
Or Nazi shit, yeah.
He just didn't like what they heard. That's it. Then he just didn't have a good comeback.
And he was crushing them judges, bro, because they stayed in litigation. So they stayed at the courthouse, and every time a judge or official walked past, they gave them shit. They hated them, bro. They catch a new charge for harassing that judge, and they be back in court 18 times harassing 18 more judges. They hated them, bro.
Yeah,
They go to the offices in the courthouse and request documents and papers and give them shit over the counter. Oh, them guys are heroes, man. They didn't pick up a gun, and they show motherfuckers stand up for your rights. Don't accept abuse. Stand up for other people.
Definitely. And if it's worth going to jail, go to jail.
Yes, that was Martin Luther King saying, "An unjust law is no law at all." St. Augustine also said that you must be prepared to go to jail. You must be prepared to break that law and go to jail with your head held high.
Yep.
Yeah. If we do that en masse, we break the system. All right. You figure they say 95% of cases I plead out. If everybody say no, take it to trial, system grinds to a halt that day. You know, they expect you. They need 9 out of 10 of you niggas to plead out for this to work.
Yeah, because y'all are scared. That's why you don't want to go to jail. You don't want to take it to trial. You're just scared. You don't think you'll make it.
That stacking
Make it different.
charges. The stacking charges should be illegal because they stack extra charges. So when they get there, they can drop a few and you'll take 1 or 2. That shit should be illegal. That's why everybody pleads out.
Right.
It's a revolving system, man. It sucks.
It'll take organization to do that. Organization across the nation.
It does. Very good, right? This is an organized thing. This is not, something that popped up over here in one city here or there. Yeah, it has to be across the nation for this to succeed. Yeah, I agree with that. It's dark in here. I lost my lighter.
Oh, damn.
Right?
Right here.
Hey, my girlfriend brought me coffee while I was in here talking to y'all. How cool is that, man? It's probably like 4 or 5 in the morning.
It's 4. It's 4-ish.
Oh, right, and we're all in
We
the
don't drink
same
coffee.
place.
Yeah, we don't
So
drink coffee.
you say
I was
4,
drinking
it's 4
Kool-Aid.
here too.
I'm activated at night.
Yeah, she's a night owl. For real.
I'm not a day person at all. I'll sleep all day if you
I'm,
give me a chance. But I'm real active at night. Like
I
also
think
I'm restless.
I heard somewhere that's a sign of intelligence. Motherfuckers who mind work fast at night, and it's a sign of intellect.
I'm super smart. Well, yeah, I like to think so. I like to say I'm self-taught.
Yes, I'd
So,
agree. Right.
yeah,
I was a book dude too. I loved school and I crushed it and all of that bullshit. But
I'm
what I've
jealous. Jesse
really
had an education. Has an education. I'm
uh,
super jealous of Jesse's education, man.
Yeah.
oh yeah, in what field, Jesse?
Criminology and criminal justice is what I got my bachelor's degree in.
Holy fuck, bruh. Holy fuck. Oh, see? The signs and symbols, baby. Jesse, what area? Oh, this is great. What area could you use that in? What are you gonna do with that? Or what could you do with that?
There's a lot I could do with it. I'm currently running for mayor though, so what I want to use that is to abolish the police.
You see where I'm going with this then. The motherfucker who gets criminal justice degree, who thinks like we think, you cannot become a cop, judge, lawyer, because, you see all the ill shit with there. What can you do with it? Yeah. And you can use it to destroy them niggas, right? That was dope. That was dope.
I think that's interesting too, because I mean, they. I'm in Aurora. I'm North Aurora. I'm in the hot zone of North Aurora, so
I
I
got
get
videos in Aurora too.
I get to see it with my. I never catch it on film, man. It's always like when I'm moving in, right? I don't know how y'all ever get to the spots where they're actually right there doing some shit, right? When I'm creeping around in the morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm creeping around the neighborhood. I'll catch them in the park, right? And they'll be like tradie. Those are 1, 2, 3, right? Sitting there, lights out, no sirens, no lights, no nothing, right? It'll be early. It's still dark. I'm popping around the corner, right? And here we go. They're sitting there chilling, having a whole dialogue right in the middle of the street. And I'll be like, I'll drive by, I'm like, holy shit. Just keep going.
I'm a hype, yo. I will
I
pull
never
the
see
fuck
it. I never see
over,
what the fuck they got going on. And then
break
when
my
I do
camera
catch it,
out.
when I do catch it, it's like me. I got this. I got a PTSD thing with the police,
Yeah.
right? And it'll go one or the other, fight or flight, right? And you can
Yeah.
never tell when it's just the meds, right? So on the situation and how I'm feeling at that moment.
Don't you
And
have to do
90%,
this?
dude, I'll be like popping through it. I'm like, oh.
Don't you have to do this though? Even if you have that fight or flight, don't you have to keep exposing yourself to that in order
I
to
do
get
it at the
over it?
sweeps. I do it at the sweeps. That's why I
Yeah,
probably do it the
me
most.
too. Me
Because
too.
at the sweep, I'm like super upset all the time. And
Right.
I am always upset. It's always something. I'm like, man, this is that bullshit. Because I remember what I was like when uh 5 fucking years sleeping on the sidewalk. So I know exactly what it's like. I've only been inside like maybe a year.
And then they're
8
pushing
months to
you
a
and
year.
shit like that. They're pushing you and throwing all your belongings away.
Well, the
I hate that.
audacity is that so all that shit they're throwing away, right? The people from the apartments threw that shit away in the dumpster.
Yeah,
These
that
homeless people,
is
right?
funny. They
The
got
homeless
it
people don't
and
give a
used
fuck. They
it.
just
Then
pick
they
it up. They
threw it
don't want to
away
sit on the
again.
floor.
That
They want to
is
stay
funny.
warm. They get their clothes from the dumpster. All that shit, they take it and wash it somewhere, whatever. Right? But they'll drag that whole couch into their fucking tent and have somewhere to sit for them and their friends, right? So they
Yeah.
just repurpose the shit that the
Yeah.
NIMBYs and motherfuckers don't want,
Oh
right?
yeah. And
But
if you
these
look,
motherfuckers got the audacity to be mad at them. Be like, look at all their things. Look at all that
yeah,
shit. Look at that couch. Look at that
all
bed. Look
that
at all the
garbage,
right. All that shit is yours, fucker.
right?
It's yours.
I'm
Like
literally sitting on your couch that you threw out. This was
right.
literally in your house.
So wasteful. Like, and then you got the audacity to be mad and go to city council and throw fits and shit. It's your shit, fool.
And then the important shit, they hold it for I don't know if it's 3 or 30 days, and you have
Oh, in
to have
Aurora.
a valid ID to come get your shit.
In
I'm like,
Aurora?
what homeless motherfucker got ID, man? I
Dude, I
just
didn't get
got an
one for
ID.
5 fucking years. I swear to God, I did not have one for 5 fucking years. I got swiped like every 3
That's
days. They fucked my
crazy.
whole life off. But I like, they know that's one thing you probably won't be able to have because you put your shit down, meander off somewhere. But it's
Right.
like, it is what it is, right? But is that in the new shit in Aurora or you're
No,
talking about
no.
Denver?
That's in Denver, I'm sure of. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
about it
Denver.
around.
I
Yeah.
remember they had storage facility. I remember they did the storage facility. I was like, nobody wants to go there to pick up their shit. It's a lost cause after that. The police run it. Everybody down the street knew the police ran
It's
it.
probably the same thing I'm talking about. They
Yeah,
store it for either 3 or 30 days,
30. It was
and you need
36 days.
ID. 36, and you
Nobody
need
want to
ID.
go there because they might have warrants and shit. They didn't want to go
Are
in,
you crazy?
right? And nobody
Right
has a fucking ID,
jail. And it's right across the street from the jail, or right next
right?
to the jail.
But they came
So
to
you
city
gotta go
council
through.
lying and said the police weren't watching it. Everybody knew the police were watching it. I lost like fucking 8 different tents
You
worth of
see the
shit.
you see the gates that they put up around the homeless. I do the same shit. I get up when it's dark outside and
When it
go out
first
there.
when it first happened, I ain't gonna lie. Hey, we got a camera. I was asking all my homeless friends on the other side of the gate if they got kidnapped. I said, I don't
Yeah,
know if I should feel bad for you. Either the city kidnapped you,
that's
or
funny.
this is the fucking dumb friends league, and I want to rescue my friend.
Uh,
Like that,
Eric,
like that.
those guys you were just watching, Eric Brandt, they're the reason for those gates. They would give
Yep.
those cops shit when they harassed the homeless. They made the gates for Eric now. Them
That
niggas legends.
those they're like over here by
They are.
Aurora, like on Montview-ish, Yosemite or whatever that is, turns in Central Park. There's
Mm,
like a police academy right there. I'm the reason the tarp is up on the academy
right on.
because
Right
I'm
on.
filled of doing
Right on.
high speed chases in there practicing. I was
Wow, that's
talking mad shit.
dope.
I was
Is that
talking
up on
mad.
your channel, man? I'd like to see
I
that
think it
shit.
is. I think it's on my little video patrol sessions where I'm mobbing through the edge, just talking to myself.
I got a lot of buddies
Not
that
on
do
here,
that.
not on here, but on
Oh,
Facebook.
okay. Yeah. A
I
lot of
haven't earned enough to where you could film or stream live because me and
no,
Jess
no,
had
no,
that
no, no,
problem
no, no,
this
no,
week
no.
today. We
They
had that problem the other Saturday. Yeah,
that way you tried it because they lowered the standards.
no,
Shit. My
we couldn't
girl
do
went
it.
live
I
and
couldn't do
she
it.
ain't.
Oops, I could not do it. On Saturday because I'm in Facebook jail right now.
Oh,
So
Facebook. I thought you were on
yeah,
YouTube.
no, on YouTube I couldn't stream live on YouTube.
How many subs you got?
Not very many.
Well,
Probably
give me.
20. Probably
Okay.
20.
Yeah, my
I
girl. I think
promote
she
my
had
shit.
a. I think a girl had a couple. My girl had a couple 300, and she was able to go live. It used to be you needed 1,000. Uh,
I'm
it's
like,
not
I'm
like that
never gonna get
anymore.
there. I promote my shit.
I don't
I just
promote
like
my shit
I
either,
just
man.
like doing my thing.
You never see me saying, please like and sub, donate here, do that. And I've never done any of that shit. My titles, um, I usually shoot myself in the leg on purpose. 70% of your shit, your views come from your title and your thumbnail. So you need a catchy title. You know, I go smoke weed, and when I'm super high, I come up with a title for the vid. So it's usually something weird like mirrors, the depths of the soul. But no one is gonna go watch my shit. I don't promote my shit either, bro.
Yeah.
I never thought about it as being the title. I'll have to look into that more.
That's what it is, man. Trust me, I've heard this motherfucker told me that a year or two ago, and I've been paying attention. And this girl told me a couple years ago that I know you do the crazy artistic title bullshit, but when something's important, you need to consider putting a title that's more relevant so more people will see it. And that's what I do when I drop a vid like that. This man destroys cops and judges. That was so people could see it, and they do. But normally, my shit is just like, here we go again. Oh, this dude's gonna go bad for this guy, or weird shit, deflection, mirrors, the Mac shit where no one is gonna know what the video is about, so he's not gonna click on it. And I'm still managed to do well though.
Yeah. It's good to know though. It's good to know.
Yes, that you can be yourself.
Yeah, what you finna do, Jesse? Because it's 4, and I'm gonna finish my broadcast.
All right, do your
Yeah, Joe,
do your.
you more welcome to come back up here. I just gotta finish
Oh,
the Panther. The Panther.
okay. I'm gonna watch it with you, and thank you for having me up. I'm glad I met you tonight, Jesse, and both of you. I can't tell you how this meant something, right? We didn't leave by mistake.
We had a real build right there.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure I'll make sure I'm subbed up so I can bump to you, catch again.
Yeah, make sure you sub to Frontline Blacc News too.
Hey, put your link in the chat right now, Jesse, if you got a wrench, and I'll make sure I'm subbed to you too. All right, y'all have a good day.
You too, Joe. Peace.
Thank you, Joe. All right, you ready? I'm about to share the video real quick so you can finish. Well, I'm just gonna share it, so I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me get this going. About that family, we're back, and here we go. Let's see. Frederica. Let's go back a little bit and see what Frederica is talking about. Oops, hold on. I had the other screen sharing.
Willamette University and had come home for holiday at Christmas. And I lived on a street in Berkeley, California that was kind of a hotbed for all of the left political goings on in that area.
Did you
I
put
think
your
it was
thing in there?
ground zero for a lot of things that were happening nationally. Next door to me, Bob Shear, who was editor of Ramparts magazine, lived with Ann Shear. Jane Fonda lived down the street when she was up in the Bay Area working. Tom Hayden later moved in next door with Ann Shear, and they were part of an organization called the Red Guerrilla Family. And so this is what was going on in this one block street where I grew up. When I came home for Christmas break, my mother told me that Huey Newton was coming over for breakfast that morning for brunch. And I said, why? Why? Huey Newton? And the Panthers represented to me, I was frightened because of what I'd read in the media. Mind you, I was not a debutante, but a homecoming queen, and this Black Berkeley, and honestly, that's as deep as my thinking got. Although we were marching in peace marches before we could even walk. As children, oftentimes kids veer away from what their parents, if my mother's doing this, then I definitely don't want to do that. And that was the case. My mother kind of looked at me and shook her head as I was growing up, that these were the things that were important to me. And when I saw Huey in my home, David Hilliard was there, and other party leaders were in that home. I was really pretty intimidated. They looked pretty stern, and I just wanted to go shopping at the mall. And I was really struck at how gracious and kind Huey was. It came to a point where everybody had asked him a question, and I hadn't. And so I said, what was it like in prison? I didn't have any political question to ask, and he graciously answered me. It was very lonely there. And I immediately was struck by him. I went back after my break, I went back to Oregon and packed my bags and came back to California. I knew that I didn't want to be there, and I didn't know what I was going to be doing when I came back to California. And I started working in a little cafe in a co-op grocery store. And the children used to come. They would be children from the party. There was a school where the children lived. These were party members' children. And they used to come to the hot dog stand where I worked inside the store after they were selling Panther papers outside the co-op. And I used to give away all the food. They'd line up, and I just give away feed all the kids. And I started asking what they were doing and started reading the paper and was really struck by what was going on, the dedication of the party members that had the children with them, and said, you know, I want to work in this school. And that's how I started working. I started working in the school as a teacher, moved out of my mother's house and moved into the school there. It's where we live communally. And we work sun up to sundown, getting up, feeding children in the morning from the community. There was a free breakfast program there, and taught school during the day. Later went to work in the free clinic that we were establishing in Berkeley. And these people that you're seeing that I'm so honored to share this podium with were my leaders. I was a young girl, 18, 19 years old, and these were the people that I just so revered. This weekend has just been so emotional that, like Erica said, that we're still here to tell the story, which is pretty profound. That we did survive that time, and that we are here to tell the story is quite a miracle. So I later married Huey, much later on, in 1984, and was with him when he died. It was my initial attraction to him that led me to even think about working with the party, but it was the work that the party was doing that actually kept me there. So it was the most defining moment in my life during those years when I worked with the party, worked with the children, and worked in the clinic. And I'm just so proud to be here today to share this time with you and share this podium with these people who I'm just so proud to have known and worked under in the party. Thank you, that's it.
Members of the panel will now take questions from the audience, and perhaps we'll have a few minutes to talk together. So if you would please come to the microphones in the center aisles with your questions.
The mic's on, okay? I graduated San Francisco State in 1962.
Oh, shit,
and
here
between
we go.
62
Started in San Francisco, who used to come to our just another Greek word for democracy.
Javi?
Top of our agendas in the Black community these days.
I just didn't want to hear that dude's question sound like it was gonna be some shit.
Sergeant of the party is 1966, and Los Angeles was the first of our chapters. The only tension that we had from our inception was this ideological struggle between the cultural nationalists and our Black Panther Party, whose ideology, our philosophy was always a class analysis based on coalition politics. That is something that still is at the top of our agendas in the Black community these days. Inclusive in that, of course, is this whole class struggle. So we were always opposing and rejecting what we considered a very reactionary ideology manifest in people who had the ideology of separation, Pan-Africanism, or racism. We always saw our struggle as being a struggle involved with all oppressed people. Thus, our slogan became all power to the people, which, by the way, is just another Greek word for democracy. So we were always involved in working with whites, and as I mentioned earlier, we worked with the gay rights movement. Another note for you, we worked with the Asians. I don't think there's been a group to this very day that has had the kind of coalition that we engendered with the Red Guard in San Francisco, who used to come to our political education classes, who dressed like us, Iwakun for the Filipinos, for people from Pacific Islanders. There must have been 30 groups that imitated our Black Panther Party. So the only tension that was really of any concern with us. It was the contradictions between us and the state that was oppressing all minority people. But other than that, we were busy about trying to organize in our communities and put into practice our 10-point program.
Okay, no more questions. I guess we'll go.
Good morning. My name is Jeffrey Haas, and I'm really honored to be here with you. I was with an organization called the People's Law Office in Chicago, and I was one of the lawyers.
We'll be here to talk about that. But Elaine and I had the honor, the purpose, the first occasion, and this is the only time that Fred Hampton ever left Chicago. Elaine and I brought him from Chicago to UCLA to speak, and sometime thereafter he was assassinated. But I'll let Elaine talk a bit about that, and I'll follow up. Sure.
Well, but I want to say something about the so-called United Slaves. I never knew the US organization. Did you, to be called the United Slaves? I thought that was something that was invented.
It was later.
Yeah, other people called it that. Us meant us or them. But COINTELPRO, I mean, has to be distinguished between just outright murder of people like Fred Hampton, because COINTELPRO was a way to undermine, discredit, disrupt, destroy the party through a variety of other kinds of machinations. So that, for example, a lawyer like you, many lawyers didn't support us, they would try to get your bar card or try to get you disbarred. That would be part of what COINTELPRO would do. Or they would write us a letter and say, you know, he's really an FBI.
And later we'll explore that thoroughly and what she's saying that she didn't know here shortly. I don't want to do it with this one, but I'd have to pause it and actually go look for that. But there was a whole thing about that.
FBI informant.
I told
that
you
was
about
a
it,
hard
remember?
one to overcome. They would write us and then when I say they, the FBI would generate these letters. And certainly they helped to promote a distinction or a difference between the US organization and the Panthers, but one cannot one cannot take away from what was acted upon by the members of the US organization, as though they were puppets of some kind of the, if they did the work for the FBI, they did it without getting paid, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe should have been. But in any case, that was a separate thing. That, yes, certainly there was, that was part of it, but there was disruption and attempts, and people think there were a lot of informants. I'm one person who disagrees that there were a lot of informants in the Black Panther Party. I think that was part of what COINTELPRO did, is to create the image that half the people were informants. It's not true. There were police agents that attempted to form chapters of the party in the early days. It was so hard to be a member of the Black Panther Party. It's hard for me to imagine that somebody could stay more than 10 minutes and be a full-time FBI agent reporting into, you know, the headquarters and all this kind of imagery. But that being said, we don't know, because what we have is this record and that record. And so most of those are obliterated, names are taken out, things are changed around and so forth. I've attempted to get my records again. And the first time I had them in the party, I had over 12,000 pages or something ridiculous like that. And when I went back for 10 years, they didn't even have 600 pages available. So just going to show you that stuff gets written out. Now, as for Fred Hampton, I think that Fred Hampton, for those of us who did have the honor to meet and talk with Fred, it was an amazing, I mean, I hate to use that word because it's so overused, but it was just so, he was such an incredible man. You absolutely forgot that he was only 21 years old when he was assassinated. But we went there, unfortunately, David took me, just on a personal note, took me with him to Chicago that night, because we had just gone he had come down for the funeral of a Walter Touré Pope, who was a member of the Southern California chapter of the Black Panther Party, who had been murdered by the police. And so that funeral took place in October of 1969. And so David, and I was feeling very depressed, and a bunch of other things were going on. And he said, well, why don't you just come on with me? I'm going to see Fred Hampton. And I really didn't think it was important at that moment. There was a debate between Fred Hampton and Eldridge Cleaver that was going on about the Weather Underground and so forth. And Fred Hampton was taking a very hard line, and David was going to find out what were the problems and try to resolve them. and actually did an incredible job, which is a piece of the history that some people don't like to discuss. But in any case, Fred had a very principled position, and it was a difficult moment. But while we were there, I was pregnant at the time, and so was Fred's wife, with little Fred, who's not so little anymore, but we all still call him little Fred. And so there was no place for us to sleep because Fred never slept anywhere, but somebody had just bought Fred that big bed. And so Deborah and I slept in that bed while David and the men debated all night long about the principle of this, the brightness of this. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, everybody got up, or at least the two of us got up, and everybody was still awake. And Fred Hampton had all of these people out on the schoolyard getting ready to start the breakfast program. And in Chicago, this is a serious thing to be participating. It's one thing to be in the breakfast program in LA and get up and the sun is shining, all year round. It's another to go to the breakfast program in Chicago when it's, 0 below zero, and talk about cooking some breakfast and getting some eggs and all that. And Chicago had one of the best breakfast programs among the chapters. In any case, they would get up in the morning and Fred would get everybody excited. And he would just say that wonderful thing. He would say, all right, I'm gonna live for the people. They say, live for the people. I'm gonna die for the people. I'm gonna die for the people because I love the people, power to the people. Oh my God, we couldn't believe it. Young thug-looking men, boys, women, young 18, 17-year-olds, 20-year-olds, learning to read, getting up to cook breakfast for their sisters and young sisters and brothers. I had never seen anything like it. It was, we knew this stuff, but I never saw anybody articulate with such power and such conviction. And so Fred agreed to come to Los Angeles, and we had a moment to talk about the death of John and Bunchy. And it was in November now of '69. And Masai Hewitt, who was the Minister of Education of the party, I was supposed to speak there, and I couldn't go and speak because I was too overwhelmed by what had happened at UCLA and the deaths of John and Bunchy. And so Masai was supposed to speak, and then he couldn't speak. And so Fred said, and we said, well, will you speak? And he did. And we sat there as though we were members of the audience and had never heard any of this. This man had a power of speech and an articulation and a power to organize. And why was he killed? It wasn't just because he could speak. It was because you had, like Bunchy Carter, he could go to the Peace Stone Nation in Jeff Fort, right? And he could go to the NAACP over here. And he had Slim Coleman, the Young Patriots over here. And he had the real Rainbow Coalition going on in Chicago. Fred Hampton had to be eliminated because he was bringing together too many people around the questions of oppression, around the question of revolution. And I want to just end by saying, well, the other thing Fred used to say was, he says, we want Black power for Black people, brown power for brown people, yellow power for yellow people, red power for red people, white power for white people, and Panther power to the vanguard. I used to love that.
In response to your query about COINTELPRO, Huey Newton's dissertation is called The War Against the Panthers, a study of repression in America. And a lot of what we're talking about here is also in that book. And I urge people also to buy the new book, Huey, the Spirit of the Panther, because this book is also about some of the evil doings, the machinations of the FBI's war against our party. And certainly it sets the tenor for the ideological development of our Black Panther Party. People used to always say, well, why was the Black Panther Party, you think, created in Oakland and had such an impact on a national and a global level? And Huey's response, our response to that is that the common denominator was oppression. That is why we started in Oakland, and it was in LA and Chicago and Philadelphia and Washington, DC and Baltimore, Maryland, and some 40 states in America. But in answers to the question about what the FBI did about and to our Black Panther Party, that's something that we're still working on, and hopefully through this university and the partnership that we hope to form here, that these students, and especially in the law school, will start doing the research and investigating what the FBI did to our Black Panther Party members. Some 28 members of our organization were killed by FBI produced and promoted programs. Some 40 members, either directly or indirectly, some of these people who call themselves BLA are in prison because of their association with the Black Panther Party. The oldest reigning member in prison now is certainly not Mumia. It's the brother out of the LA chapter, one of you that Elaine and Erica know so very well. His name is Romaine Chip Fitzgerald. He's in prison. And Eddie Conway, who's in prison out of Baltimore, Maryland. There are 7 people in exile in Cuba before Assata Shakur got there. That is what the FBI has done to our Black Panther Party. And that research needs to be done. We'd like to join with this university and law school to call for investigations. There's never been these hearings. There's been hearings about Waco and what happened to Ruby Ridge. There's never been one accounting about what the FBI did to our Black Panther Party. So we think that this is a good time to make that happen.
There's a lot going on, and that's what I like. We'll pause right there since you want to ask that question. Let's see right here. Hold on a second. Hold on 1 second. Take it off this so you can see this. Yeah, that since you want to ask, yeah, there's a lot going on. It didn't start out that way though. From this little video. Let's see.
On the activities of that individuals. The focus of our inquiry has been and will continue to be the use of these and other techniques without the sanction of judicial authority and for purposes often unrelated to law enforcement, as it has been traditionally defined in our country. I stress that the mandate of this committee is to examine the intelligence gathering activities of governmental agencies and does not in any way encompass an assessment of the overall FBI law enforcement effort. We make no attempt at overall assessment. With respect to those FBI activities which have come to be known as domestic intelligence, our inquiry has revealed a further bifurcation of the Bureau's areas of concern. As previously discussed by the committee's counsel in our last session, approximately 20% of the Bureau's budget is devoted to intelligence activities. This is divided between so-called domestic intelligence and counter-espionage activities. We have accepted and we support the Bureau's position that a further budgetary breakdown detailing the precise expenditures for each category might adversely affect the national interest by revealing the exact amount of expenditures for counterespionage. Therefore, while the nature and extent of these activities is less than precise from a budgetary standpoint, this inquiry nevertheless represents a critical area of our investigation. Testimony and other evidence received by the committee to date indicates that a variety of techniques, not limited to those just cited, were employed against individuals and organizations without even color of legislative or judicial authority. The impact of those abuses on individuals and on legitimate political, social, religious, and philosophical interests represents a dangerous erosion of our constitutional guarantees.
It's like word
In
salad.
Council's survey of the issues during our last session, we examined a range of activities extending from information gathering to disruption of the lives of individuals and organizations.
This is where it starts to get
We
real.
witnessed intelligence functions at their admitted worst in our review of the so-called counterintelligence program against Dr. Martin Luther King.
Ooh, this is where it's about to
Today,
get real,
we turn
family.
to an in-depth review of intelligence methods through an examination of the Bureau's most widely used technique,
About to
informants.
get heavy.
The concept of informing is usually distasteful. However, the informant technique is a valid and recognized one in the intelligence field and often leads to very solid results. At issue is the Bureau's abusive employment of this technique, an abuse at least partially due to the absence of clear guidelines concerning intelligence informants and the lack of appropriate constitutional guarantees. The legitimate concern of the FBI in investigating criminal conduct and preventing criminal activities can never justify allowing informants or other law enforcement agents to operate outside the law without regard for the rights of others. When an informant is used to penetrate an organization to provide intelligence information, the possible impact of his influence on the activities of that organization cannot be ignored. Surely the infiltration of informants into groups and organizations which seek to bring about political, social, economic, or other changes in our society represents, at the very least, a chilling effect on the freedom of citizens to gather and to debate and work for such changes. The fact that an informant in carrying out his role may hinder or alter the advancement of legitimate objectives sought by members of organizations is a matter with which we must all be concerned. Furthermore, the Bureau's use of informants in large numbers and in circumstances where the propriety of having an informant is dubious in the first place poses an additional item of concern. As I have already noted, the Bureau's use of the informant is part of the FBI's catalog of technique for carrying out its work. Our hearing today will focus first on the roles actually played by two informants, one who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan, another who infiltrated Vietnam veterans against the war. First witnesses today will be Mary Jo Cook and Gary Thomas Rowe. Mr. Rowe will be wearing a hood so that he cannot be physically identified. He believes that physical identification would be inimical to his personal safety. He now resides at a location not to be disclosed under an alias.
This guy right here.
Which has been given to him by the government.
It's about to get real. That's what I was telling you about Jesse the other day.
Warren, please. You solemnly.
Yeah, I can't get to the point.
Ms. Cook. And Ms. Cook, if you will, I'd like to begin by starting with your first affiliation with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. If you will, it's my understanding that your contact began in the summer of 1973. If you could, just briefly for the committee, explain how that contact came about.
Yes. Excuse me. I was living with a man who...
Would you pull your mic a little
closer? I was living with a man who was working for the Bureau and who had been working for the Bureau for about a couple of months as an informant. He asked me, I observed his activities, we discussed his activities, and then he subsequently asked me if I would consider becoming an informant.
Just like that.
Which group was he informing for?
The FBI.
And who was he informing about?
He was informing on the Vietnam Veterans Against the War Winter Soldier Organization. Okay, he took me to a meeting.
Or just a Klan
We
member.
discussed in more detail how he felt about being an informant, what he did, why he did it. And when I said that I would be open to talking about being an informant with the FBI, he set up a meeting, and then the FBI came to my house to discuss it with me.
Just like that.
An agent came to visit you for the purpose of discussing your becoming an informant?
Yes.
Just like that.
What was the nature of that discussion? What were you asked, if anything, to do by the FBI?
The major understanding that I got from the meeting was that VVAW-WSO was an organization primarily of veterans who were possible victims of manipulation. They had been through the Vietnam War, they had legitimate readjustment needs, and the Bureau was afraid that they could become violent or could become manipulated in a cause or a social concern. And they wanted me to go in there, participate in the organization, and make sure that the veterans didn't get, quote unquote, ripped off. So I was to be, they used words like be a voice of reason, be a big sister, be sort of a guiding force in the organization.
Basically,
to keep
finesse these
things
fools.
calm, cool, and collected. That sounded like a legitimate thing to do, so I agreed to work for the FBI.
Basically, she agreed to just
In
finesse the
addition
fools.
to maintaining reason and keeping things
For
calm
real.
and cool,
Just
what
like
other
that.
functions, if any, were you assigned by the FBI?
Well, this whole scenario that was presented was called what it was, being an informant. So I was to go to meetings, write up reports or call phone-in reports on what happened, who was there, in some way to try to totally identify the background of every person there, what their relationships were, who they were living with, or sleeping with, to try to get some sense of
Shit, basically,
the
I had to
local structure and the
tell them all
local
the
relationships
business.
among the people in this organization. And so I would go to a meeting, identify the people who were present, identify them as individuals, and then identify the substance of the meeting.
You identified the attendees by name.
Yes, or by physical description if I didn't know the name.
Did you identify friends of persons who were
telling you,
associated
man.
with the organization?
Yes, I did.
Did you provide information on these persons' places of employment?
Yes, I did.
And you said you provided information on their personal relationships.
Yes, I did.
How did you come to gain this kind of information?
Much of this information
She
would
finessed
be,
them.
initially, it would be gathered at a meeting. People would joke in personal conversations. They would drop information about themselves. As I got to know them as personal friends later, then much more information. I had access to much more information.
She ain't shit.
Did you report back to the Bureau all information gained?
No, I did not report back to the Bureau all information gained. Initially, when I worked for the Bureau, I did. I had
She
little
decided
way
to
of
pick
making.
and choose what
I
you
was
wanted to
alien to
report
the
to.
situation. They said go into this, and so
Crazy.
I had no way of really knowing what was important, what wasn't important. So in one sense, I was a vacuum cleaner for information, just gathering it. As I became more familiar with the context within which I was working, I was able to make decisions about what was important information and what was not.
Was this on your initiative, or were you given guidance as to what to exclude?
And
Let's roll a little forward, because this dude is the best.
As being used against these people, then I cannot continue. And they tried to give me assurances. They brought someone from Washington to talk to me, and he talked in humanist philosophical terms about why I should continue and how everything.
Include correspondence between you and Attica defendants?
Now I get to this dude right here.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes my examination of witnesses.
From when to when?
Sir, from approximately 1959 to 1965.
Can you draw the microphone a little closer to you?
Let's listen to what he says.
From approximately 1959 to 1965.
In 1965, did you surface in connection with a murder case?
Yes, I did.
Whose murder and what role did you play in that case?
I was in the automobile the evening the woman, Mrs. Viola Luzio, was killed by a group of Klansmen.
And this was a situation in connection with the Selma March, where a woman from Detroit was killed while she was riding in a car after the march.
That is correct.
And you surfaced and testified at 3 trials, which ultimately resulted in a conviction of the persons who had committed that murder. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right. I want to go back, Mr. Rowe, to how you came to that point and what you did as an informant before performing that service. Had you served in the government prior to being a Klan informant? In the military forces?
Yes, sir.
You'd been a Marine?
Yes, sir.
How old were you when you became a Marine?
Sir, I was joined the Marine Reserves at 14 and a half years of age.
And the FBI recruited you to infiltrate the Klan, is that right?
That is correct.
What kind of information did you report back to the FBI about the Klan?
Any and everything that I observed or heard pertaining to any Klansman.
Now, did that include information relating to planned violence or actual violence?
Yes, sir.
Did it also include information related to political matters?
Yes, sir.
What's an example of that?
Sir, an example of that was we had a former FBI agent running for mayor of Birmingham. I was instructed to attend meetings, observe who was there, whether the people were Republicans or Democrats, if I could best describe that, and give their names and if they were in fact active political voters.
Now, in addition to reporting back political information and information relating to violence, did you report back information relating to the social life of the members of the Klan?
Yes, I did.
Including the most intimate details of their social life, personal life?
That's what I was instructed to do, sir.
You were instructed to do that by the Bureau and you did that?
That is correct, sir.
Did you also go to meetings of civil rights organizations and report back what was being said at those meetings?
Yes, I did.
And did you report the same information to the Bureau and to the Klan about the civil rights organizations?
Basically the same information, yes, sir.
You were a member of something called the KBI, or the Klan Bureau of Investigation, is that right?
That is correct, sir.
So you were in effect informing on the civil rights organizations to both the Bureau and the Klan?
That is correct, sir.
Turning to the subject of violence, what instructions, if any, were you given at the outset of your employment by the FBI with respect to participation in violent activity?
Sir, I was instructed under no conditions were I to participate in any violence whatsoever.
Now, did those instructions subsequently change?
Yes, they did.
Describe the change, will you please?
Sir, I was contacted by my contact agent, and he stated to me that he says, quote, he said, I know there's a lot of crap going on that you aren't reporting. He said, I know it's happening, and I don't understand why you don't see it. I said, well, it isn't happening in the open meetings, I can tell you that. I give you every night a written report of my meeting. I said, there's absolutely nothing pertaining to violence discussed in these open meetings. However, I see a group that stay, after the meeting's over, I see a certain group remain, and they don't come out when we do. The agent stated that I should try to get closer to members of this certain group, find out who they were, and try to get closer to them.
And did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And then did you begin to participate yourself in the violent acts?
Yes, I did.
And did you tell the FBI that you were participating in violent acts?
Before I participated in the acts, yes, I did.
What were some of the acts that you participated in, the violent acts?
Sir, the major one was the Birmingham Freedom Riders.
Now, I'm going to come to that in a moment. Did you also participate in acts where you beat people with chains at a certain county fair? Or...
Yes, sir. There was a county fair in Bessemer, Alabama. The FBI, I personally gave the FBI several days' notice, a good week notice that this was going to occur. My instructions were, well, to hang in, go and see what happens. Just work your way in.
And did the FBI ever tell you that when you went to these violent occasions, you should stand back and not participate, or did they say you're on your own and do whatever you think is necessary?
Sir, they stated to me, quote, he says, we have to, by law, to instruct you that you're not to participate in the violence. However, we know you've got to do this. We know it's something that you've got to do, and we understand. So we need the information. That's the important thing. Get the information.
And to get the information, was it necessary, in your judgment, to participate in the violent acts yourself?
Some of the information, I think, yes, and some I would say no, sir.
Right. In connection with the Freedom Riders incident that you mentioned, did you inform the FBI about planned violence prior to that incident?
Sir, I gave the FBI information pertaining to the Freedom Riders assault approximately 3 weeks before it occurred.
And what did you tell them?
I stated to them that I had been contacted by a Birmingham city detective who in turn wanted me to meet with a high-ranking officer of the Birmingham Police Department to set a reception for the Freedom Riders.
You mean the Birmingham policeman set up the beating of the Freedom Riders, and you told the FBI that?
That's correct, sir.
And then were they beaten?
They were beaten very badly, yes.
And did the Birmingham police give you the time that they promised to give you to perform the beating?
Yes, sir. We were promised 15 minutes with absolutely no intervention from any police officer whatsoever.
What? You didn't know?
The information was passed on to the Bureau. We had our 15 minutes. Approximately 15 minutes after the Freedom Riders were attacked, a police officer ran over to me and stated, God damn it, get out of here. Get them out of here. Your 15 minutes are up. We're sending the crew in.
Were any arrests made?
Absolutely none, sir. As a matter of fact, I quit very shortly after working for the Bureau because of this incident. I felt that my exact phrase was, why wasn't something done? There were 1,000 men at least on Mother's Day of the morning of the Freedom Riders just roaming up and down right in front of City Hall. We had baseball bats, we had clubs, we had chains, we had pistols sticking in our belts. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, but that's a problem of the Birmingham Police Department. What about the FBI? Did you ever discuss with them why they?
Sir, and I was told by the FBI, quote, he said, well, who the hell were we going to report it to? He said, the police department was involved in it. The police department helped set it up with you. He said, we are an investigating agency, not an enforcement agency. All we do is gather information. That was my answer.
Now, sometime after that, were you told that the FBI had declared war on the Klan and given the name of something called COINTELPRO?
That is correct, sir.
And what were you told to do under the COINTELPRO program?
Sir, under the COINTELPRO program, I had been instructed to disrupt, discredit, or disorganize the Klan organization to the best of my ability.
And what things did you do in that connection?
I was instructed to give information if I find out who was sleeping with who. If somebody was sleeping with another Klansman's wives or was going with someone, I was to try to pass the word around to the different people so that it caused dissension in their homes and try to break up their homes. I was also instructed to attend church services in the regular church services, see if there were any political activities going on or mentioned in church services as opposed to the Klan meetings. Many Klan meetings were held in churches.
Were you also instructed personally yourself to attempt to break up marriages by sleeping with wives of members of the Klan?
Yes, I was. My instructions were to try to sleep with as many wives as I could. That was probably the best information we could gather.
All right, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, except then thereafter you did solve, as we started, the Leozo murder by providing information to the FBI that led to the solution of that crime.
Yes, I did pass the information.
Committee will stand in recess for 3 minutes while we bring forth the other witnesses.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you about the other day, right?
No.
Yeah, there. How it started was initially to bust up the KKK, and it just took a whole nother turn. Let's fast forward and see what else going on.
Surely, in order to get an informant who can meld into a group which is engaged in criminal type activities, you're going to have a different set of criteria. If you're talking about our internal security matters, I think we set rather high standards. We do require that a preliminary inquiry be conducted, which would consist principally of checks of our headquarters indices, our field office indices, checks with other informants who are operating in the same area and with various established sources such as local police department. Following this, if it would appear that the person is the type who has credibility, can be depended upon to be reliable,
It's probably the same system they still use.
we would interview the individual in order to make a determination as to whether or not he would be willing to assist the FBI in discharging its responsibilities in that field. Following that, assuming that
Evidence of conspiracy to give you jurisdiction to act.
The departmental rules at that time, and still do, require departmental approval where you have a conspiracy. Under 241, it takes two or more persons acting together. You can have a mob scene and you can have blacks and whites belting each other, but unless you can show that those that initiated the action acted in concert in a conspiracy, you have no violation. Congress recognized this, and it wasn't until 1968 that they came along and added Section 245 to the Civil Rights Statute, which added punitive measures against an individual. There didn't have to be a conspiracy. But this was a problem that the whole country was grappling with. The President of the United States, Attorney Generals, we were in a situation where we had rank lawlessness taking place at as you know from the memorandum we sent to the Attorney General, the accomplishments we were able to obtain in preventing violence and in neutralizing the Klan, and that was one of the reasons.
Union Station was lawless.
What was the Bureau's purpose in urging continued informant surveillance of the Vietnam veterans against the war? Was there a legitimate law enforcement purpose, or was the intent to alter political expression.
It started out, of course, with Gus Hall in 1967, who was head of the Communist Party USA, with comments he made. What it finally boiled down to is a situation where it split off into the Revolutionary Union, which was a Maoist group, and the hardline communist group. And at that point, factionalism developed in many of the chapters, and we closed those chapters because there was no longer any intent to follow the national organization. But we had a valid basis for investigating it, and we investigated chapters to determine if there was affiliation and subservience to the national office.
Mr. Winall was in not intervening in the Roe situation when violence was known.
Senator Schweiker, Mr. Adams did address himself to that, and if you have no objections, I'll ask that he do that.
The problem we had at the time was that and it's the problem today, we're an investigative agency. We do not have police powers even like the United States Marshals do. Marshals, since about 1795, I guess, or some period like that, have authorities that almost border on what a sheriff has. We're the investigative agency of the Department of Justice. And during these times, the Department of Justice had us maintain the role of an investigative agency. We were to report on activities. We furnished the information to the local police who had an obligation to act. We furnished it to the Department of Justice. In those areas where the local police did not act, it resulted finally in the Attorney General sending 500 United States Marshals down to guarantee the safety of people who were trying to march in protest of their civil rights. This was an extraordinary measure because it came at a time of civil rights versus
Program, since it's obvious to me that a lot of informers are going to have pre-knowledge of violence of using U.S. Marshals on some kind of a long-range basis to prevent violence.
We do. We have them in Boston in connection with the busing incident. We're investigating the violations under the Civil Rights Act, but the Marshals are in Boston. They're in Louisville, I believe, at the same time. And this is the approach that the federal government finally recognized was the solution to the problem, where you had to have added federal import.
But instead of waiting till it gets to a Boston state, which is obviously pretty advanced confrontation, shouldn't we have somewhere a coordinated program that when you go up the ladder of command, the FBI, that on a immediate and fairly contemporary basis, that kind of help can be sought instantly as opposed to waiting till it gets to a Boston. I realize it's departure from the past. I'm not saying it isn't, but my point is, it seems to me we need a better remedy than we have.
Well, fortunately, we're at a time where conditions have subsided in the country.
That dude just wanted to talk back.
Even from the 60s and the 70s and periods like or 50s and 60s. We report to the Department of Justice on potential trouble spots around the country as we learn of them, so that the department will be aware of them. The planning for Boston, for instance, took place a year in advance with state officials, city officials, the Department of Justice, and the FBI. Our approach, our only approach, was through informants. And through the use of informants, we solved these cases. The ones that were solved. There were some of the bombing cases we'd never solved. They're extremely difficult. But these informants, as we told the Attorney General and as we told the President, that we had moved informants like Mr. Rowe up to the top leadership. He was the bodyguard to the head man. He was in a position where he could forewarn us of violence, could help us on cases that had transpired, and yet we knew and could see that this could continue forever unless we can create enough disruption that these members will realize that if I go out and murder 3 civil rights workers, even though the sheriff and other law enforcement officers are in on it, if that were the case, and some of them it was the case, that I will be caught. And that's what we did. And that's why violence stopped, was because the Klan was insecure. And just like you say, 20%, they thought 50% of their members ultimately were Klan members. And they didn't dare engage in these acts of violence because they knew they couldn't control the conspiracy any longer. So,
Mike,
I'm sorry.
well, my time is expired. I just have one quick question. Is it correct that in 1971, we were using around 6,500 informers for our black ghetto situation?
I'm not sure if that's the year. We did have one year where we had a number like that, which would have probably been around 6,000, and that was the time of when the cities were being burned. Detroit, Washington, areas like this, we were given a mandate to know what the situation is, where is violence going to break out next. They weren't informants like an individual that's penetrating an organization. They were listening posts in the community that would help tell us that we have a group here that's getting ready to start another firefight or something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
There are 3 more senators remaining for questioning. If you can try to get everything in your first round, it may be the best professional organization of its kind in the world. But when the FBI acts in the field of political ideas, it's bungled its job, it's interfered with civil liberties, and finally, in the last month or 2, through its public disclosure, has heaped shame upon itself and really led toward an undermining of crucial public confidence in an essential law enforcement agency of this country. And in a real sense, history has repeated itself, because it was precisely that problem that led to the creation of the FBI in 1924. In World War I, the Bureau of Investigation strayed from its law enforcement functions. It seems to be the basis of this strategy that people can't protect themselves from dangerous ideas, that you need to use the tools of law enforcement to protect people from subversive or dangerous ideas, which I find strange and quite violent, quite profoundly at odds with the philosophy of American government. I started politics years ago when we asked you.
I agree with that, Senator, and I'd like to point out that when the Attorney General made his statement, and Mr. Hoover subscribed to it, we followed that policy for about 10 years until the President of the United States said we should investigate the Nazi Party. I, for one, feel that we should investigate the Nazi Party. I feel that our investigation of the Nazi Party resulted in the fact that in World War II,
And yet, here we are.
contrasted to World War I, there wasn't one single incident of foreign-directed sabotage which took place in the United States.
And under the criminal law, you could have investigated these issues of sabotage. Isn't sabotage a crime?
Sabotage is a crime, but yet...
Can't you investigate it then?
After it happens...
See, every time you get challenged on getting involved in political ideas, you defend yourself on the basis of crimes that you've been investigating. It's very interesting. In my opinion, you've got to stand here if you're going to continue what you're now doing. And as I understand it, you still insist you did the right thing with the Vietnam Veterans Against the War and investigating the Council of Churches. So this can still go on. This can still go on under your interpretation of your present powers, which you try to justify on the grounds of your law enforcement activities in terms of criminal matters.
That's always
the
how
law
they do
does
it,
not
man.
say we have to wait
Pivoting.
until we have been murdered before we can act.
Absolutely. But that's the
but
field of law again.
That's
There you
right.
go again.
It's the field of law.
You're trying to defend
but when you have sabotage...
That's the law. You can do that. You got
That's
plenty
right,
of
but you can't... How do you find out which of the 20,000 Boone members might have been a saboteur? You don't have probable cause to investigate any one, but you direct an intelligence-type investigation against the German-American Boone.
That's correct.
The same thing we did after Congress said...
And couldn't you get a warrant for that? Why do you object to going to a court and asking for authority to do
Because you
such
don't
thing?
have probable cause to go against an individual. And the law doesn't provide for probable cause to investigate.
See
an
where it gets all
organization.
sketchy and weird.
There were activities which did take
And yet
place.
they'll say
like
that it-
one time
that
they
you
were going to
did,
outlaw
that
the
they did.
Communist Party,
Yeah,
which
but we
didn't come
could-
about.
We could, what I don't understand is
Double
why it
talking
wouldn't be better
asses.
for the FBI for us to define authority that you could use in the kind of Bunn situation where under court authority you could investigate where there's probable cause or reasonable cause to suspect sabotage and the rest,
Wouldn't that make a lot more sense than just making these decisions on your own?
We have expressed complete concurrence in that. We feel that we're going to get beat to death for the next 100 years.
Right.
The damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right.
If we
I think they kind of brought that on themselves. What you think? Still with me?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I'm
they kind of
still
brought
here.
that on themselves, considering that they're still behaving like that now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so much to say.
Yeah.
So much to say. Like, I was saying though, they were in charge of busting up the KKK, and yet they allow themselves to get involved and do other shit, and then it turns into straight onto us, and then back to them, on us, back to them. You see what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's see. We'll go up here real quick. All right, everybody. I'm gonna end this right here because I just want to get through that. Join us Tuesday, which is tomorrow, for Shabakas Black Experience Enhanced. Also on June 2nd, we are doing a marathon, so jump on that with us if you get an invite from Shabakas and Corey or myself or Jesse. Either the Revolutionary Agenda or Frontline Blacc News, to jump on with your podcast. Feel free to do so. It's a marathon. We're gonna link up all this stuff. We got a few caveats, so hopefully, pretty sure you can tolerate it. We can do it. You can do it. Also wanted to say thank you for watching this P.E.C. People's Educational course. You know what I mean? So thank you for watching. Actually, it's another video with our People's Education Committee. My bad. It's late, family. Jesus. Thanks for watching. This is round 2, so I wanted to make sure that we had another little video exploration. We got to explore a little bit of the origin of the Panthers, and we got to explore a little bit of that informants and the FBI and all that good shit. So, shout out to Brother Yanga, and join us also for Frontline Blacc News on Saturday, 10 o'clock. And I'll probably be back later with another edition of the RVA. Depends on what I want to talk about. We'll see what happens. Gotta read the news. So the last one was pretty heavy, so I'm still not able to post anything in stupid Facebook, which is okay. So we'll see. I'm gonna end this real quick. Hold on, Jesse. Okay.
We're born with our hair like this, and we just wear it like this because it's natural. Because the reason for it, you might say, is like a new awareness among Black people that their own natural appearance, physical appearance, is beautiful.